Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 5, Episode 40. I am your host, Alejandro. With me, my other rotating chair making his return. Rick, how are you doing?
Hey Alex, I'm all right. How you doing?
Yeah, you sound like you had quite the day. Anything you want to say?
Not really, no, but
Yeah,
but yes, it has been.
it has been? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this serves like a little bit of a reprieve for you, a little bit of an escape, kind of like how we usually do it here over at Escape Gaming. But no need to kind of like have to dilly dally shilly shally on any other preamble because this is the X Bottom podcast, Escapes Gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing, available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escape gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And just like a tiny little bit of a housekeeping thing, you'll notice there's going to be two episodes that go live this week. Me and Paul recorded last week's episode, and I just had a heck of a week where I haven't had the time to really publish it. It's gonna go live after I finish recording this, and then you're getting that last week's episode and this week's episode in the same week, basically. So, and nothing else to say about that. But Rick, time to talk about what we have been playing because you have a few things you want to talk about, especially since the last time we spoke. I want to hear.
Yeah, in reality, there's probably only two on that I really have anything to say about, but
Yeah, so before getting into other stuff, like anything you want to update on either Ninja Gaiden 4, Ghost of Yotei, and Battlefield 6?
not really. Battlefield 6, I did play a couple maps of the Red Sec mode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest battle royale guy, but
Mm-hmm.
I actually do kind of like that. I didn't really care for the fours mode, but I liked when I played duos with Clint. I thought duos was actually pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it I mean, it basically is just Warzone except with Battlefield mechanics as opposed to Call of Duty mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
which I prefer for a larger map like it is. So, uh, I still greatly prefer the standard Battlefield multiplayer mode, but
Mm-hmm.
I will say Red Sec is better than I thought it would be. I kind of written it off, and it's a little better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I have not really tried it. I did try one of the other modes that wasn't the VR mode. I think it was like kind of like the objective mode that kind of like have the four players kind of like
Yeah.
running from place to place. It's kind of like the only thing that I've been doing. It's just that most of my the things that I've been playing have been mostly the things I've been streaming. But uh anything else? How much? Where are you in Yote now?
I actually have not played a ton of Yote
Mm.
the last week or so, so I did like I don't know if you'd call it the first mission
Mm-hmm.
of the Oni chain, maybe the second mission. I don't know exactly how you
Mm-hmm.
differentiate it. Um, like I actually encountered the Oni directly, if that tells you where
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really haven't played much since that point. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
now,
not a ton of progress there.
yeah. And then Ninja Gaiden 4, since last time you were here, we kind of had quite the interesting discussions based on my review versus like where you were at. Where are you right now? Because I know I've been like seeing
I,
some I know you made some progress since then.
yeah, I don't remember where I was last time I was on the show.
You had just played one chapter,
Just one
basically.
chapter. Okay.
Yeah.
I am on, I believe it would be five now.
Mm-hmm.
I have the second weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh yes, because I finished the mission after you get the second weapon
Mm-hmm.
rather.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am.
You're in the
I
mountains. Basically you're in the
that's
mountains
correct.
right now. Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Yes. I already have the wings or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, I don't think there's too much like relevant about this specific mission that I can think of. So
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, no, I mean, I stand pretty strongly to what I said. I think it is definitely a good action game.
Mm-hmm.
It has good combat and all that stuff, but I very strongly don't believe it feels like Ninja Gaiden at all. I think it's a good Platinum game. I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it feels like Ninja Gaiden in the least.
Yeah, to be fair with you, like right now that's the discourse around this game. There's like two camps. The ones that swear that you can feel the Ninja Gaiden to it even with the extra speed, and then the other is like, no, it's like too much of Platinum is here more than the Ninja Gaiden of stuff. I would
Yeah.
love for by the time that you get to the Rio stuff, which is late, I would love to hear like what do you think of that much later. But that's if you're in chapter 5, he comes in chapter 16. Just to kind of give you an idea.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I know.
so
I know you encounter him as a boss fight.
mhm.
Chapter 7, I think, is what I heard.
Yeah, you're soon.
Um,
Yeah, you're gonna see
yeah.
him soon. So, and his intro is pretty cool. I'll say. I like how kind of when he comes in because it's kind of unpredictable, but not really in a way of when he shows up and kind of what he does to you. It's actually really cool. So,
I think I can name like certainly the speed and movement is a main reason why I don't think it feels that much like Ninja Gaiden. But I have another thing that it's a little tough to explain without visual representation, but I will
mhm,
try. This is going to sound weird, but just walk with me here.
yeah.
It's the camera. And
Hmm.
it's not the it's a bad camera thing. It's the way the camera is. The
Hmm.
camera is way pulled back compared to how a Ninja Gaiden game is.
Hmm.
It is much closer to how it is in a Platinum style game.
Hmm.
If you play Ninja Gaiden 1 or 2,
Yeah, it's a little bit
you'll notice
closer.
that the camera is much closer.
Hmm.
And that for me, that kind of thing makes a big difference. It was a large reason why, I mean, amongst many other reasons, but it was a large reason why Assassin's Creed Odyssey felt nothing like Assassin's Creed to me.
It
Is
was
the camera
super
was
pulled out.
it was so far pulled back as
Uh,
comparison to Origins that it
hmm.
felt like a completely different game. Now there was obviously many other reasons beyond that one,
Hmm.
but that one just immediately right off the bat, it felt like you were playing a different game because the camera was pulled back so far. And now
Hmm.
this is not as egregious as that, if you will.
Hmm.
But if you notice, the camera is a lot further back than it is in
Yeah.
a regular Gaiden game.
Yeah, to me is because I've just recently have gone through some of those earlier Ninja Gaiden games, like the more pulled back camera. It doesn't bother me more, especially because I've embraced completely the lock-on mechanic that was non-existent in the previous games. So I just went full on. It's like, yeah, it feels nice to have this because it helps me kind of keep some focus. So, but I don't know if you
And see,
feel.
the way that I play, this is a big area where we differentiate.
Hmm.
The way that I play Ninja Gaiden, the lock-on system is a terrible idea
Hmm.
because I am like the way that I play it is I'm always moving around, jumping around, speeding around, swallow, diving around, and I very rarely when I play any of the Ninja Gaiden games, unless I'm only fighting one enemy, I very
Hmm.
rarely I'm focusing on a single enemy. I'm usually like moving around the battlefield like that, and the way that the camera is in this game with the lock-on system, it almost discourages doing that, and that is something that I
Hmm.
still stand by. I don't care for how they did it,
Hmm.
but I mean, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to get used to it. You know, it's
Oh
not going
yeah.
to change.
Yeah, I got used to it really quickly. That's kind of why, even though this game kind of overwhelms you with so many enemies that don't go down either, too. So it helps kind of like the camera keeps anything in control when it gets up because with Ninja Gaiden it always has the same problem where there's always the danger that you're gonna get into a corner that you could get blinded from some point
Yeah,
and obviously before you had the thing and the right trigger or RB depending on which Ninja Gaiden you were
right,
that helped kind of like center back everything before that. So it's kind of like that felt like similarity, but helped me refocus real quick on something where I needed to go
right.
afterwards. So that's kind of like where I embraced the kind of like the lock on. But if I was already too,
Here's actually a question for you.
mhm,
Did you use the default controls or did you change them?
I use the default. Yeah.
Because I changed them.
Okay.
You know, they default to platinum style controls
Mm-hmm.
with your dodge being on R2.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, yeah, that's not Ninja Gaiden to me. So I
Yeah.
actually, I mean, their secondary control system is a more
Hmm.
traditional one, but I think they definitely need to add in a, you know, whether you want
Hmm. Lock on or not. Hmm.
whatever to be lock on or just simply to reset the camera because I would turn off lock on if I could.
I wouldn't mind if they added personally. Like, I'm
Yeah, just
fine
make it
with.
an option.
Yeah, it's because the game has so many options too. It's like this game's like has plenty of options if you go to like the options
Yeah.
menu. But I definitely can't wait to hear more whenever you get further because I mean you're making decent progress for you with
Well,
with
I have not played it. Just like you, I haven't played it much the
mhm.
last week or so. I've been playing the other game on my list that is
The
also
Outer
on your.
Worlds, the Outer Worlds 2, a game that
Yes.
initially you were not excited about until the reviews kind of like made you give it
Yeah,
a shot. So,
this actually might be the single biggest surprise for me this year because,
mhm,
as I said, and I mean, I made a joke about it obviously in the last episode I was on.
mhm,
I really had no interest in this game. I wasn't even watching it. I just kind of read reviews for big games just to
mhm,
keep up on what's going on.
mhm,
And as I mentioned when I read the reviews, I'm like, huh, that does kind of address what I had issues with. So I was like, all
mhm,
right, I'll be an idiot and I'll buy it anyway. And I'm actually glad I did because it's probably skyrocketing to one of my favorite games of the year.
mhm. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling that way too. This is the one from like the big Western RPGs that have come out this year. It's finally like underlined for me that I need a sci-fi setting to play a Western RPG. Fantasy settings have to be very specific. Like, I am not gonna go back to KCD2. I've already made peace with that. I don't like that game, but it's because I don't like realistic medieval stuff. But I respect what it does. I'm glad for people that like it. I just like something more fantastical. And if it's gonna be fantastical, I like my sci-fi. And the Outer Worlds 2 is giving that for me. Plus, I would improve the. I think that I find the game like funnier than the first game. I like how much better the combat feels. I like the look of it
It's
too.
because it's not as try hard. The first game was
It's
very try hard in its humor and it didn't work.
exactly. Now this
It's
it is
more
more
subtle.
natural. Yeah, it's more
It's more
subtle and more
subtle.
natural.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some really solid chuckles out of this one. And I'm like, yes, I like that. In like compared also like to forgot to even add it because I also played that yesterday, but I'm gonna talk about that later. But I like when like a game's humor is not super try hard. That's kind of why later like Borderlands 3 like completely turned me off because it was so try hard in its humor that it didn't make me laugh. But
It
there's others that
it
just
it
so
it
naturally makes you laugh. So.
it has to be completely absurd. Like an old Xbox game that I mention occasionally that really wasn't the greatest game, but it actually was a
Hmm.
good comedy called Armed and Dangerous.
Hmm.
It was so absolutely insane with its comedy that it worked. Like everything about it was built around being
Uh-huh.
it was basically Monty Python as a game.
Uh-huh.
Um, but when it tries to be serious and overtly try hard like the Outer Worlds 1, it does not
Hmm.
work. I thought the writing in general in Outer Worlds 1 was pretty horrible,
Hmm.
whereas I actually think it's a good bit better in this one so far. And again, I'm not very far in it. I don't want to
Hmm.
pretend like I am, but what I've played, I think it is a marked improvement over any moment that I ever played in the first game.
Yeah, and not only that, yeah, I also made it clear you don't think highly of Obsidian as a studio like many people in the Western RPG like sphere does.
Yeah,
Like,
this is the first. Now, I'm not counting the what are they called, grounded games, or whatever. I'm not
hmm.
even taking those into account. This is the first game that I think they've made that's good
Hmm.
since Fallout New Vegas. And Fallout New Vegas, they had quite an existing
Hmm.
uh,
Formula.
formula to work off of. Now that said, New Vegas was better than four.
Hmm.
So I'm glad they didn't fall up on four because that would have been worse.
And a lot
Um,
of people swear by New Vegas even more than three. Like now when you ask a
most
lot,
do,
when you
yeah.
ask a lot of people, I don't know if that's where you land, but that's usually when people are asked about that era of Fallout, it's always New Vegas, the one that is
I
underlined.
preferred three, but New Vegas was probably objectively a better game.
Hmm.
It was more the fact I was kind of tired of the formula by that point.
Hmm.
And also I've never been huge on the kind of fake West setting that it had, but
Hmm.
it is almost objectively a better game than three.
Yeah. Another thing
Um,
that people love of New Vegas more than three is the gray area of the morality system in New Vegas, kind of like makes you think you're doing the good
that's
choices, but it's not, they're actually not. So there's like
that's
a,
kind of the one thing that Obsidian does well. Even going back to when they made
but,
Knights of the Old Republic 2,
mm-hmm,
is they did a far better job in terms of balancing the light side and dark side.
mm-hmm,
And especially because I don't know if you ever played Coder 2, but
mm-hmm. I played a little bit,
you
but I never finished it. Yeah.
you actually could, obviously all your party members had alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually try to convince them to change the alignment to what you wanted, which is cool. So you could actually
Mm-hmm.
corrupt Jedi or
Or,
try
or
to
he'll Sith.
pair them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I don't. I mean, you obviously certainly have some Sith members. I don't remember if it's well. It's been a long time since I played Coder. It's probably Coder 2 is it was not completed,
Mm-hmm.
which is also very much a Obsidian
Obsidian problem.
trademark.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no. But this is a massive improvement over the first one, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it speaks. I think it's without saying that it's a better game than Avowed because Avowed was
Mm-hmm.
crap.
Yeah, about I wouldn't go as crap, but about is just such a game that just came and went for me. I've tried going
The,
back to it as a
the only thing about it was it had good combat, which
mhm.
I was surprised actually. I thought the combat would be bad, and it actually was quite good. I thought everything else about it was bad though.
Yeah, the combat it being good is kind of like the remnants of what we know of that game after we learn of interviews of it. That was a reclamation project also. Like
Yeah,
maybe not as intense as Dragon Age the Veilguard, which was defined by its reclamation, but because it was a very public, oh, that game got rebooted twice and things like that because of how
yeah,
long it was announced. But and Avowed went through something similar to that. It's just that it was quieter. And also because it's
yeah.
Obsidian, so less like less
I,
limelight
I
than BioWare.
I know this is probably not a popular opinion, but Veilguard is also a far better game than Avowed.
I've heard that.
A
Yeah, I've
far
heard
better
that.
game.
I've heard that too. I would say the one area that it's so unequivocally better is in the polish. Like Veilguard is like
Yes,
the
it's very polished. Yes,
yeah, Veilguard is still to this day like the most shockingly polished launch era BioWare game that I've seen. Like
yeah,
almost ever because that's like you're not used to BioWare being that polished and that's kind of like the one area that you cannot deny that they nailed
yeah.
that. Regardless of what you think of
It
writing,
it
story
has
and
insanely good animations and stuff too.
Mhm.
Whereas Avowed not so much.
No, Avowed is like looks so generic.
It
Avowed
looks
looks
bad. Yeah,
so Unreal 5 generic.
yeah,
It's kind of like
yeah,
it's where I started like seeing the gosh, the Unreal Engine 5 games that use foliage and all that all have to look the fucking same.
yeah.
Like that's kind of like what it's it's making me notice more when when more people are trying to use that engine for everything. It just makes me
Mm.
appreciate those that don't, especially
It,
like I went
it
back to
goes
old
back to
games.
the Unreal Engine 3
Yeah.
days where every game looked exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they tried to differentiate them, you could look at something for 3 seconds and know it was
Uh,
made with Unreal Engine
and it
3.
was the lining, the lining
Mm,
was composed, the textures, the texture pop-in was so prevalent in Unreal Engine 3
mm.
games. The grayness, the piss filters, and all that. It's like it was so even like a game that was technically more colorful that used Unreal Engine, like Arkham City. You could still tell in the character model looks and all that. It was like that's an
Probably
Unreal
the
Engine
best
game.
probably the best example here would be BioShock actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because BioShock obviously there was a ton of artistic
Uh,
design in that. And if you disagree with that, and we know somebody who does, you're wrong.
I know.
But but you can still look at it and within 2 seconds tell it's an Unreal Engine 3 game because
Yeah.
it just has that Unreal Engine 3 look to it.
Fun fact with original Bioshock, that's Unreal Engine 2.5.
It is? I thought it was
Yeah,
3.
yeah. 3 was Bioshock Infinite.
Well, BioShock Infinite is not very good. So
Yeah,
I said it. I'm gonna stand on it. It's
yeah.
not very good.
It's a good game, but
It's
it's not even
it's the
remotely
worst.
close.
It is the worst of the three by a freaking mile.
I think that's Bioshock 2 for me, but we
No,
can
no,
like
BioShock 2 is much better than Infinite.
yeah. No,
But
I don't like
I
too much.
digress.
I like the DLC of 2 a lot. Minerva's Den. Minerva's Den's amazing, but I don't like Bioshock 2 that much, especially the idea of the Big Daddy. Like it just you never feel like that Big Daddy like fantasy it's ever fully fulfilled until like almost near the end. Uh, I thought it should be, or they shouldn't have let you just be the Big Daddy at all. That's kind of like my
I
sticking
mean,
point with
I
two.
agree with that. I don't know why. Well, I do know why they did that, but
Mhm. And it's also
anyway,
not a kind
yeah,
of living game, yeah. But you're not for Infinite. I like Infinite, but it's like to me, Bioshock One is like the masterpiece there. So, and now real quick, Rick, because you barely played it, but this is because you played this before. I want to hear more about this because this in the sea of insane releases that happened last week. Tales of Exilia remaster also kind of came here because I was knee deep into finishing the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake, which you could read my review or at seasongaming.com. This was also the other slash remake remaster that released next to each other. So Tales and also Tales of Exilia had a very fun conversation in our group chat with a certain dearly departed member. But tell me, like, what are your early impressions of this remaster, and at least give me a lowdown of what makes Exilia so good.
yeah. So I mean, remastered. I have not played a ton of, but I did play the original game to completion, so I feel pretty confident I can speak it with
Is it one
authority
on
on this one.
like? Would you say it's pretty much a one-on-one? Like,
It's exactly the same game. Yeah, there's no
okay,
difference there.
there you go.
The only difference is they added a few quality of life updates. It made the what do you call it, the grade shop available right off the start,
Mm-hmm.
which they've done with all the remasters for the most part. Uh, Upped it to 60 frames per second, which we'll discuss that part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Higher resolution textures, that whole gist. Yeah, the game itself is entirely unchanged. Um, yeah, this is. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Tales series. Pretty much since Symphonia, which is when a lot of people in the West kind of jumped on. That was the GameCube one.
Mm-hmm.
I have played every major entry since that has come West.
What's the
We
360?
have a question in the front yet? Yes.
Yes, what is the 360 one that was exclusive at first?
Vesperia.
Vesperia? Okay.
Vesperia.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Vesperia is a very good one, actually.
Hmm.
Exilia, so Exilia was originally a PS3 game, and that's why it's a big deal that the remastered one came out, is because it has been completely locked to the PS3.
Hmm.
Um, and I actually I was unaware that I am not alone in this being my favorite, or at least one of the favorites. I did not know. I typically don't pay attention to the fandom to know what they like and don't like, but
Hmm.
apparently this is a very popular entry amongst the fandom.
That's why I wanted to hear it from
Yeah.
you because I've been seeing that because I was like, that's a lot of chatter for Exilia. It's
Yeah.
like, and I'm so
Yeah,
removed from like the tales.
I maybe part of why people like it, and to be clear, this is not me because I decided pretty quickly when I played it back on PS3 it was one of my favorites.
Mhm,
It is pretty much the final old style
mhm.
Tales game if you want. Like they try to change it up with the following ones on PS4,
The
Zestiria
Styria.
and Berseria, which are those two are also unique in that they're directly connected.
Hmm.
I did not care for either one of them. Some people like Berseria. Almost nobody likes Zestiria,
I tried
but some
Cysteria and I didn't
it
feel it.
sucks.
I'll
Yeah,
just
it
say
sucks.
that. Hmm.
So, some people like Berseria. The only thing I like about it is that you are technically the bad guys in it, which I thought was kind of cool. But it still is the same.
And
Just
Arise is very interesting in how people refer to that because I know there's some people that got into Tales because of Arise, and then there are some other people are like, yeah, this is like probably middle tier Tales game. I don't know where
it's
you land there.
I wouldn't put it middle tier. I'd put
No?
it I would put it lower upper, I guess is probably the way to
Hmm.
put it. It's a good one.
Hmm.
But it also, I mean, it's a shame it's been so long since they've released one, but it also did bring the series back to being something good. Whereas I
Hmm.
thought this Mysteria and Berseria were not that.
Hmm.
But anyway, so Exilia was kind of the last. Well, technically Exilia too, but you get what I'm saying. Was kind of the last of the old style.
Hmm.
More like if you play them, once you progress a little bit, you kind of the combat system almost has a fighting game feel to it.
Hmm.
Um, where they totally changed that in Zestiria and Berseria. This is the last one where they kind of kept that again, not counting Exilia 2. But Exilia also has a fantastic, fairly simplistic story, I guess,
Hmm.
but a really, really, really good cast. And this is something that the Tales games either nail or really, really do poorly.
Hmm.
Because they'll either have a fantastic cast or they'll have a terrible cast that you want nothing to do with.
Hmm.
And this one most definitely falls into the good one. It has a very strange mechanic that as far as I know, none of the other ones have done. In that right off the bat, you choose between two main characters. You choose either Jude Mathis or
Hmm.
Mila Maxwell. And what's particularly interesting about this is it's not like it changes who you play as, other than the very, very beginning of the game, because you both of them are like the main characters of the story.
Hmm.
But there are a couple points where they separate, so you'll see one side or the other. That
Hmm.
said, if you're watching this now, I'm telling you, if it's your first time playing it, play as Jude. Number one, he's easier to play as because Mila is your more complicated kind of battle mage style character, and the mages could be tough to play in these games. But also, her side of the story, from what I understand, I've never actually played through her side. I played through it on Jude's. Does have some moments where it kind of assumes you know a little bit of context that you learn on his side,
Hmm.
but you can play through her story if you want to. It's just it makes a little more sense if you play as his. But again, they are together for 95% of the game, so it's not like it's a huge difference.
Hmm.
It was a weird design decision. Actually don't know why they did that. Uh, However, there was something I totally forgot about this, but it also might be because I played as Jude initially, and
Uh-huh.
that is that Mila gets Metroided very hard in the beginning of this game.
Really? That doesn't happen with
Yes.
you?
No, no.
Interesting.
Uh, well, okay. She gets Metroided hard because she starts as like a fairly late game version of herself.
Oh, okay. So then,
No, 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 not like she becomes lesser than him. She starts way overpowered, and
uh-huh.
I mean, it depends how much you screw around in the opening dungeon, but in reality, it's like 10 minutes into the game. Um, she loses the summons, which is her thing.
Hmm.
Because but that said, this is not a big spoiler because if you play her side, you'll notice right off the bat something's amiss. Number one,
Hmm.
she's destroying enemies, and Jude, when he joins the party right away, if you're playing on her side, right? He
Hmm.
has I don't know 140 HP. She has like 3,500. So
Hmm.
it's like pretty clearly this was not going to stay.
Hmm.
Um, but I had forgotten about that. But again, because I did not play as her initially, I played as Jude in that point.
Hmm.
So and this is before you had the ability to switch characters in combat rather. So
Hmm.
I didn't even know she had all these abilities. It was just whatever the AI was using. But anyway, but yes, this is a great game. I just in the remastered got the third party member, which is Alvin,
Hmm.
voiced by Matt Mercer. So you
Hmm.
got a pretty big name there.
Yeah.
Uh, but awesome character. He really is an awesome character. If you ever looked at the character designs, he's the guy that wears the trench coat and the long scarf.
Hmm.
He uses a sword and a gun. And I mean, you only get you get six total party members plus one temporary one at one point. All six characters are awesome, and that includes surprisingly Elise, who is
Hmm.
the uh, uh, token young anime girl character, but
Hmm.
Elise is actually quite awesome, and she's like kind of your healer, but she also has like dark magics,
Hmm.
dark element magic. The spell effects for her attacks are awesome. and your like black mage, if you will. It's not really what they're called in this, but that's Rowan. He's a butler. He's got a long braided hair. He's there. It's just such a good party. And what really does set this apart is, and I've said this ad nauseum,
Mm-hmm.
it has after Sephiroth maybe my favorite
Oh,
antagonist in
really?
gaming history. Yes.
Okay.
Notice I said antagonist. I did not say villain
Uh-huh.
because Gaius is not actually a villain. That's what makes him interesting. He's
Mm-hmm.
he is actually a friend of the party, but they are ideologically opposed as to how to address the issues, and
Mm-hmm.
he is awesome. Now that said, he's very anime styled, right? He doesn't have like Sephiroth long hair, but he has like long shoulder length hair,
Yeah.
and he wields a giant odachi basically with
Mm-hmm.
one hand. But he's a really 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 awesome character.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say, Rick, like for anyone, like, especially because this is like a remaster of an old game, how would you elevator pitch why should someone play a Tales game? Like, what makes the series so special to you in a way that are like,
so
mhm,
I would say so for those who don't know, Tales' claim to fame is it's one of the very original, like traditional style JRPGs that does not use a turn-based combat system. It
yeah,
actually uses an entirely real-time action-based combat system.
mm-hmm,
And they have pretty well changed throughout the years. Um, but when you start to get some ability, it's pretty basic at first, right? When you
mm-hmm,
start to get some abilities, start to get some party members, and this game has a an ability where you can actually link two party members,
mm-hmm,
and you start using your different arts, which are like your special attacks that use your TP in this, which is
mm-hmm,
MP and anything else. Um, it actually starts to get pretty crazy, pretty involved, and there is an actual like skill set involved in getting good at these.
mm-hmm,
Um, uh, Arise, for example, actually is notorious for having massive difficulty spikes when you get to boss fights.
mm-hmm,
This does not quite have that, but it does have difficulty settings you can set, right? It's a good combat system. I mean, for being
mm-hmm.
uh, if you watch videos, you will think it's just kind of a hack and slash, but it really is not. There
Uh,
actually is there is actual
strategy and like
strategy and
build
know
craft.
how. Yeah, right. Well, not so much. Well, Buildcraft a little bit in terms of setting your skills, I guess.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
But it's like I said, the best I can describe it is it almost is like a somewhat simplistic fighting game
mm-hmm,
when you're. It depends what character you're controlling. But like for example, I mentioned playing Jude. A lot of times when I play these, I do like to bounce around and play as different characters, right? Like
mm-hmm,
remake, for example, it's all about playing different characters.
mm-hmm. And
When
if
I
you
played
don't do
Exilia,
that, you're dumb if you don't change around with your
well,
characters.
right. In Exilia, I actually largely did stick with Jude because he is such a diverse uh not, sorry, a diverse party member in terms of his combat abilities, stuff like that. Like he's your monk, if you will, right? Your melee fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But his whole thing is he's a medical student. So he has little like healing abilities and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it actually gave me a lot of uh like how I wanted to set up what of his arts I had set up, right? It
Mm-hmm.
gave me a lot of options. Like I would set the one healing thing to like flicking the right analog stick up or whatever. Um, but because by the end game he is so fast, like he's at least the way I built him, he was
Mm-hmm.
probably faster than Tifa is by the late game. And Tifa gets very fast depending on
Yeah, Tifa's like
what
super
yeah.
fast, like with
He,
every with her
he
level
was
two,
he
like
he was
Umbra.
probably he was probably faster than her. But so I would have. I mean, I if I went back and played the PS3 version, I wouldn't be able to do it again because I don't remember the combos I had figured out in my head at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would do all kind of like backflip jumps and healing, and then I would use the one attack, which would chain to somebody else. Like when you learn what you are doing, it is a really, really, really fun battle system.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst what this is what's cool about the Tales games is when they're done right, like this one is, whilst retaining everything that you like about a traditional Japanese RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So many action RPGs, even those that are Japanese ones, they kind of a lot of times will lose what makes a JRPG popular if it's a turn-based like Final Fantasy style, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Tales games actually managed to merge the two better than most series I've ever seen. And it is why after Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, it probably is the biggest JRPG series there is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's still kind of niche compared to them,
Yeah.
but it is a big one. If you ever like really look, the Tales games do pretty well, and that is why
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they have always done a really good job
It's like
with
people
this.
pay attention when Tails kind of like circles around,
Yes,
even though they're not
yes.
like as zeitgeisty as a Final Fantasy or a Persona. and things like that because there's like
Yeah, I'm
tiers
sorry,
of
you're right. I don't know
severity.
how I forgot Persona. It'd be number
So,
four. Persona's definitely bigger than Tails.
mhm,
But yeah, so this actually is one of my very favorite games of all time.
mhm,
Now, I will say not everything is perfect though.
mhm,
I mentioned the 60 frames, and it runs perfectly smooth at 60 frames. That's not the issue. No. The issue is, and this might be some stuff that can be fixed. I'm not sure. I guess people discovered that on the PS3 version,
huh?
certain things about it were hard coded into the frame rate, which does
Oh,
happen. Now,
okay.
I'm not. So right now, there's really two major complaints people have. One of which doesn't bother me too much. The other one which is a little bit annoying. First, I'll go with the one that doesn't bother me. The controls are a little sensitive. I think that can pretty easily be fixed. I think they'll probably pump out a patch pretty quick that'll adjust that. The bigger issue is, so if you know anything about Tales games, you know what the skits are, right?
Hmm.
There are things that pop up that they're optional conversations, but more often than not, you want to watch them because they'll be fun little discussions between your party members, right? Apparently, people have discovered that the uh, what do you put it, like the icon to display the skit must have been in some way tied to the frame rate.
Hmm.
So with it being double the frame rate now, it takes double the length of time for some of them to pop up,
Hmm.
which on console maybe not the biggest deal, but there's certain skits that you should have available like as soon as you finish a combat encounter, for example.
Hmm.
Now it might take 10 or 15 seconds. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but it can be because if you're
Hmm.
not waiting around long enough, you could be leaving an area and missing skits.
Hmm.
They discovered this, I guess, because in the PC version, certain times they would have the frame rate set to like say 120,
Hmm.
and there was a skit that like it took like 5 minutes to pop when it should have been like
Hmm.
15 seconds. Um, so that is what I'm a little more concerned about because that might be a little tougher to patch. I'm not sure. I think the controls they can fix.
Hmm.
That and again, the controls didn't bother me too much, but there are definitely it's very easy to jump when you don't want to, for example.
Hmm.
But the skits, that I'm a little concerned about. But we'll see. Otherwise, it looks good. I mean, it's a fairly simplistic art style, but like the backgrounds have this almost like hand painted look to them, whereas the main characters are kind of fairly simplistic anime. But
Hmm.
it was not hurt in any way by the resolution bump. Looks good, runs
Hmm.
great.
Yeah, the
But
resolution bump is I follow Hayes Mason, I think is his name. He's a pretty big like guy that reviews like JRPGs and all that. I saw the comparisons of here's the PS3 version,
yeah,
here's the
it
current
just
remaster. It's like you can
it
tell.
doesn't lose the art style, which is
Hmm.
the important part. It still
Yeah.
looks the same. It's just a lot sharper.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel also like a file save as remaster that just kind of got
Yeah,
up-res exactly like a lot of the lazy remaster.
it looks much less muddy,
Hmm.
which and that's not to insult the PS3 version. It's just running at probably 720p.
Hmm.
Let me go look at anything at 720p now. It looks like crap, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but you didn't lose any of the art style to it, so that's what's good. But yeah, I love this game. I even with a couple of the issues, which is a bummer.
Hmm.
I'm just glad to be able to play it again because the reality is it's been locked to PS3 now for
It's just a
10 years,
series.
I think.
Yeah, there it's like so many series. Kind of like the thing that I'm loving of what's happening right now with Dragon Quest. That is like
Yeah.
a very scattered series. It's kind of like finding a home, being kind of brought back. And I don't know how much demand there is for the scattershot nature of the Tale series to become like available in different.
There's a lot actually.
Exactly. So
Um,
I'm glad that people are kind of doing that because like
it,
this is like the point to you release a PS4 or PS5 version of something that means it's like you're finally like brought it to a point where it can like remain here for the foreseeable future, especially since we know that back in a big confession that Naoki Hamaguchi had did what he's been doing a million interviews about Final Fantasy VII Remake project and all that, and kind of him basically admitting that Square lost so much of the source code of so many of their PS1 era games because
a
they just
lot of
didn't.
those older companies did. I mean,
Mhm.
even everyone wondered why they ported Ninja Gaiden Sigma instead of Ninja Gaiden Black, and they said we don't have the source code to Black
E-
anymore.
Exactly, and the way to kind of extract that is to go too deep into like maybe ROM hack like an original version, like because that's the thing. Like, yes, it got lost, but original Ninja Gaiden Black is playable on Xbox
Oh yeah,
Series X.
it
So
was more the fact they couldn't port it.
mhm.
It was stuck where it was. They couldn't port it to PC or PlayStation.
Exactly. So they could only
They
like
didn't have it. Yeah.
emulate and have it be backwards compatible with kind of what it was. But
Mm.
in order to develop, that's been like long lost. And especially with how different console dev kits used to be, like how or the original Xbox dev kit was compared to the 360 one, and then compared to the Xbox One one, and compared to even the Series X one. That how they did emulation for backwards compatibility to work on the Xbox One and Series X like it does is actually pretty impressive software, like engineering, because like they were coded in such different ways. So I'm glad we're kind of like in that era, because like that was kind of like my big thesis statement of what I like about the Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. That it's like I'm glad that at least the spirit of these games are being like retained while being modernized in a way that works in a modern way, but while still keeping the spirit of its being a pixel
Mhm.
art adventure and all that. That still makes it so wholly unique and new now, and it's a chance for people to at least see a version of that story. I would argue it's like a more elaborated on story, uh, and for people to kind of get in. So,
Well, and when it comes to the Tales series, this is especially important because if you ever look through, so
mhm.
there's been a million Tales games, and because there's also been a lot of handheld like they're like Tales of the World, they're like these compilation games. But if you look at the main entries, there have been probably about half of them have never come to the West. Um, we got Tales of Fantasia for Super Nintendo, which they then ported to Game Boy Advance. Then we got Tales of Destiny on PS1. Then we got Tales of Destiny 2 on PS1. However, here's the thing. The Tales of Destiny 2 that we got is not Tales of Destiny 2. It's actually Tales of Eternia, I believe. Tales of Destiny 2 was a PS2 game that we never got, and that's the actual true follow-up. Then there was a couple PS2 games we never got. Then we got Abyss, which is another one of my actual favorites, and I kind of believe. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog. I don't know what she's barking at.
I can hear it. No
Oh,
worries.
okay. Um, uh, uh, so just backing up a little bit here. They've already confirmed that Tales of Exilia 2 is being remastered. Thank God. Which actually one thing I want to say on that, this is an area where the remaster will help, especially because uh the whole unlocking the grade shop right off the bat. Tales of Exilia 2 has a very strange design decision. So you play as your main character is a guy named I actually don't remember his name now, but I knew it a minute ago. Luger. Luger is his name. Luger is a new character that is not in Exilia 1, right? But Luger has some, I guess you would call it like dialogue choices to make. He is a silent character. However, in the grade shop, after you finish it for New Game Plus, there is an option to pick a voice for him. For, uh, I mean, he still doesn't talk in conversation, but it'll voice whatever you select for him in terms of the thing. Well, now because of the grade shot being available right off the start, you'll at least be able to pick that right off the bat, and I am certainly going to do that. But anyway, so we know that that's being remastered, and if we understand what I forget his name, Tamazoku or whatever his name was, the director. Um, on top of that, there are two others being remastered. I think a lot of people believe Abyss is probably one because Abyss is another pretty fan favorite. That does leave the other one up for question. I would love for it to be one of the Tales of Destiny because those are very, very expensive games to buy now. And the only way to play them is to find a PS1 copy. Tales of Destiny 1 routinely goes for $250 and Tales of Destiny 2 I want to say is about 350. There or I might have those backwards, but maybe two's more expensive. I can't remember. What one is a good bit more expensive, but they're both very expensive now. And so it would be nice to have a way to play some of these old ones. Like even if you brought, they're not going to do this, but bring a collection that has, Fantasia, has Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Attorney, or, however you want to put it. Just let us play these older games we've never got to play. And then additionally, some of the ones that were never brought over, it would be nice to have them over here to actually try them. So,
Precisely. So
yes.
love where we are now, and I'm excited to eventually get this on a sale. There's just too many games that I'm playing right now, because it's been madness, and I bet that's gonna be similar madness considered like what game we now know is launching next fall, and we know why so many games were so packed together this fall, because they were preparing for this possibility. It's just that now it happened a year later. So,
Mhm.
but we're gonna get to that before I talk about what have I been playing. So, I've been going all in on streaming over at twitch.tv/the Slayer Giant over the last week and a half. Like, what I've been streaming is like I went full hog, like full hog on streaming the first hour, showing the before the game was out, the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, And beyond that, I committed to do the Resident Evil 2 hardcore playthrough because I've beaten those games before. I played that game many times since 2019, but I never did it on hard. And I stream myself playing hardcore, and this time doing a Claire A, Leon B. So kind of like how that game gives you the option to, hey, do you want to start playing as Leon Kennedy, and then the second playthrough you do Claire. I've never done it the other way, where you start with Claire and then you finish with Leon. And kind of like what you warned me about is that doing it that way, I actually picked the hardest way to go with the hardcore mode because
Because of her gun, yes.
yeah, her guns are so like with Leon. Just the fact that Leon has a shotgun more than makes you capable
Mm,
of holding your own. The fact that her guns are her two handguns, the grenade launcher, and a SMG is like the grenade launcher can be good for AOE attacks, like gathering together and like burning stuff. But like whenever you reach the point where there's a planned monsters that you need to burn them to a crisp, Claire's like completely unusable at that
mm,
point because it's like with Leon you have the flamethrower at the very least over there. So I still was able to beat it. And then I did the Leon playthrough. Immediately got to beat that in like 2 days. That was fun to do. Got those trophies live. So it was cool. It would just remind me why I love the Resident Evil 2 remake so much, while also reminding me the thing that prevents it from being a 10 out of 10 remake for me. I absolutely hate that the second playthrough, regardless of who it is so half baked. In the
mm.
It doesn't make sense why mechanically you had to resolve the same puzzles that the first character already did. I'm talking about like the statues, like have to find them, and that is because the other characters theoretically already did this. Why are you doing this
Right.
again? And they don't really explain it. Why do you have to fight William Birkin down like before, like when you go beneath the beneath the police station initially, where you fight him? Where that's where you find Cheryl Birkin if you're playing
Mhm.
as Claire. She doesn't show up if you're playing as Leon, but you still have
Right.
to do the exact same boss fight. And it deviates at a specific point where it's like, okay, this is where we actually went new. Like, because in Claire, you eventually go to an orphanage. With Leon, you go straight to the sewers with Ada. So it's like, those are like the few points where it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense. But then there's also things where it doesn't make sense how the appearance of Annette Birkin like aligns with both playthroughs because in Claire's playthrough she dies bedridden after she gets thrown by the monster Birkin like in front of Claire and Cheryl and Cheryl Birkin. And then in the Leon playthrough, Annette Birkin dies over her wounds after she shoots Ada. And when everything's kind of like collapsing and Ada kind of falls. So it's like the timelines just don't align that way. And I don't understand how for a remake that's so highly polished that you can like this was around the time where you finally understood that Capcom really cared about now treating Resident Evil with a new level of like quality and polish and all of that. Those are like the one areas that just don't make sense beyond just taking them as like, it is what it is. Because the original game wasn't like this. The original game was it committed to the two completely separate playthroughs, and also the fact that you can leave stuff from the one playthrough that the other character could pick from the other playthrough. So there was like an interconnection there that was really cool for a game that was in the PS1 era. That's why like RE2 is I consider the best one out of those three original PS1 era RE games because of that level of ambition. But beyond that, it's like there's still a reason why RE2 Remake is considered like a modern day survival horror masterpiece. Despite it to me, like it's not fully perfect. It has like I feel that game could be perfect if you do one playthrough alone and you never do the B routes of any of that. It's when you're in the B route that it's like you start realizing how they cut corners. And you're like, ah man, that sucks. That really sucks because like it's like the one flat tire of the entire package. But it's still like I still consider RE2 like a top tier RE game, and it's still like I still consider it like the it set us up for this new era of like remakes that are like so well done beyond the remaster or visual or just changing the visuals, but it's the exact same game. Like the how we had that reimagined conversation with the dearly departed host last time, like that one time, remember?
Yeah,
But yeah,
unfortunately, I do.
unfortunately,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I'm glad I was able to do that. And then finally, I finally checked off a game that I've been wanting to check off my list of backlog games because this was a game that I was initially put up because of some early reviews. I'm talking about Alien Isolation, the legendary survival horror game now that has grown in such esteem over the years that a lot of people argue it's like got unfairly maligned by reviewers in the American side of the aisle that didn't quite understand.
I love Ryan McCaffrey, but I will say this is one he got wrong.
Yeah, and he absolutely got it wrong, and especially admitting the way, like I will say, the only thing I'm gonna give McCaffrey credit is the fact that he played it on hard in
That's
the
what I played
script.
on.
Exactly, and it says there that this is like the actual ideal way to experience this game. I can imagine with the review tight deadline and not really understand using a different kind of logic with the stealth to what this game expects from you, and on a tight deadline, and the fact that it's actually a fairly long game for a survival horror game. It's like a
It is
20-hour
long.
game.
Yeah, it is long.
It's like that definitely like did, but it's like that didn't really bother me. The thing is that to me, when I hear people say that 20 hours is too long, I just don't agree. Like
Yeah, I
I
don't
just
either.
like it's like yes, it's slightly too
I
long.
think 20 hours is what most games should be trying to be. Get
Mhm.
games that are 8 hours are too short. Games that are 40 hours are usually too long. Yes.
Exactly. The 20-hour is like 15, 20 hours feels like the perfect
Yeah.
I would dare say that survival horror works better in the tighter window if the survival horror that you're doing allows itself for multiple playthroughs, aka Silent Hill F, which kind of like that game like in its story comes alive with like the complete different playthrough because of what it is like revealing of the story. I would say that game has the flat tire that is like doing all those combat sequences near the end. That is like the absolute worst part of that game. But the
Yeah,
fact that it's
it pretty much derailed me from continuing, and
uh,
I'll probably try to push through it this weekend just to get it out
mhm.
of the way. But it kind of soured me on the game pretty hard.
Exactly, and I don't blame you for doing that. But the fact that it's also a tighter experience means that you know that that's coming, and you could probably prepare for that. It can get you back into a game because like survival horror is like one of the more highly replayable like playthroughs in the genre usually. But if you make a much longer survival horror game with multiple endings, then you kind of like think it twice. It's kind of like with the Silent Hill 2 remake that I feel like that game is a little too long for what it needs to be. Like, and the way that it's padded out feels a little too padded out compared to like how it was original in PS2.
And
But
then meanwhile, Resident Evil 3 is much too. Or I'm sorry, you
it's
said Silent Hill.
yeah,
Yeah,
Silent
yeah.
Hill.
Well, I say Resident Evil 3 is much
Much
too short.
it will that's way
Much
too
too short.
short. Yeah,
Yes.
that's so short. It should have been DLC for RE2.
It absolutely should
Yeah,
have been.
yeah. It's like a that's like the one
If they
area.
wanted to make it a standalone, that game needed to be double how long it is.
Exactly.
Double.
And I hate that how they justified their price was that they included the RE multiplayer project with it. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is how we're
Nobody
justifying. I'm
played
like,
that. Yeah.
no, yeah, in no play, and that thing's already dead. So now like that game got permanently discounted. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
in its permanent discount, that seems more worth it. I feel like the only way that the RE3 is even more worth it is if you buy the $40 edition that comes with RE2 and RE3. As a bundled up together
Yeah.
thing, it's better, but RE3 remake is way too short. And obviously, like,
It is way too short. Yeah.
yeah, and it cuts so much, and that's the thing. It shouldn't have been that short. It cuts so much of our OG RE3.
Yeah. They cut
Yeah,
a
I don't.
ton.
Yeah, and I don't know why they did that. I don't know if it was like pandemic thing because that remember that's the RE we got at the
Yeah.
start of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and it came out way too quick compared to RE2. I was like, that's wild that we got
The,
RE3 so
the
quick.
most frustrating thing of it all is I love the Nemesis and he was complete. He was barely in that freaking game.
Yeah,
Or
and
at least the version of Nemesis you think of. Obviously, his
mhm,
like mutilated form is in it a lot, but the actual Nemesis that was big and hulking and chased you around
mhm.
was in the game for 15 minutes, and that was
Yeah,
it.
you get a much better Nemesis experience with Mr. X and RE2,
Yeah.
and that
And
to
it's
me is insane.
unfortunate because I always thought Nemesis was much cooler than Mr. X, but yeah,
Because
they did nothing.
originally when they did it in PS1, it was like they were experimenting what they were trying to do with RE3 with the Mr.
Mhm.
X in that second playthrough of RE2 because it wasn't in the first playthrough. So the fact that in the modern era, Mr. X is where they got it right and Nemesis they kind of got it wrong is kind of unfortunate. Even though I would still say RE3 is still a pretty good game because of its just in the quality alone, it's just way too short. And when you know
Mhm.
how much it got cut, it feels worse in hindsight.
Mhm.
I do like some of the mechanics that they added there. I like that your knife is infinite there, so you can kind of
Yeah.
just knife zombies that are kind of like down there, just so you don't have to waste more bullets. Because that's the one thing that RE3, RE2, and RE3 annoy me is just how inconsistent how many bullets to kill a zombie can be. Oh, my bullet blew the head off this time. Other times I feel like I've used 10 of them and these guys still not dead. So and you have a dodge in 3 that you couldn't do in 2, and that's actually kind of cool timing the dodge.
Right.
So it's not so there's mechanical improvements in 3. It's just that 2 is just a superior package. But going back to Alien Isolation, that initial my Ryan McCaffrey review. On top, I don't want to just put pin it on him because I made this joke with Nova Founder, which is in our Slayer Discord. He actually backseated for me when I was doing because that's one of his favorite games of all time. So he was kind of helping me keep going. Like if I got stuck at any point, he was giving me patches and all that. Uh, that I made the joke that yes, the IGN review is the one that got all the flack because of a 5.9.
Mm,
GameSpot gave it a 5 and Polygon gave it a 6.5. I mean, GameSpot gave it a 6. So those were like the three from like two big sites back in the day, like the GameSpot and IGN and
yeah.
Polygon that's now completely utterly irrelevant. But those were the ones that kind of
They
gave
were
it.
relevant then too, but yeah.
Yes, but even more so now.
Yeah.
But those were kind of like the ones that a lot of people latched on. Was like, oh, I guess. But then if you went everywhere else, it's like that game had a lot of eights and nines everywhere, and a couple
Mm.
sevens, and
Yeah,
all that.
I would say Game Informer was like an 8.75 or something like that.
It's 7.75, so 7.8,
Oh,
and
really?
with
I thought they
yeah,
were an 8. Okay.
hmm yeah. Eurogamer was 8. The Guardian was 9, and things like. But there was a split. It was so funny because Kessie McDonald, former IGN writer, and then she went over to the Guardian. All that. She's the one that noticed like this is the most fascinating review split I've ever seen because the American sites all scored it low, and all the European sites scored it high. So it's like an interesting divide in like ideology and kind of like the different continents how like they took this game. And it was an 80 Metacritic, so regardless, it's like it was fairly well received. But I feel like
It was typically quite liked by fans of
mhm,
the series, of the
exactly,
Alien
yeah,
series.
exactly, and I feel that game over the last decade really grew in esteem to the point where even IGN of all, like they just recently did a top 10 survival horror games. Alien Isolation is in
Yeah,
that list.
they had done, I forget who it was that wrote it, but somebody wrote a like
In defense.
revisiting Alien, and the person did say like, yeah, Ryan's review said this,
I
and
don't.
another thing is, I don't remember what it was for, but a few months ago, that review came up on Season Gaming
Uh-huh.
Bitcast, and I
Yeah.
remember Travis specifically said, the people that say it's good, it's because they only played the first half. Travis, I played the whole game, and you're
Uh-huh.
wrong. The
Exactly.
second half is also good.
hmm
In fact, I would argue the second half is better than the first half if you know what you're doing.
The final third, it's awesome. The section where you get the alien away and it's just against the
Yes.
robots is my least
Yes.
favorite. But the reviews made it seem that the game completely loses steam. Not in the slightest. There is a
Yeah.
lull. I would agree. That's my least favorite part, where it's just the robots because the robots are so fucking annoying in that game. But when the
They're
alien comes
they're
back,
too bullet spongy. That's the only
exactly,
problem.
exactly. They're two balls spongy, but kind of like what Nova Founder was telling me is like the game is still designed in such a way that you can still stealth around those robots if you know what you're doing, if you know how to
Yeah.
do. So it's like the game.
That's what you're
There's
supposed to do. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like it's just that at that point it kind of gives you the catharsis that at that point you finally get a shotgun, so you're kind of living like, oh, can I
Mm.
finally shoot people? It's kind of like a good like so many survival horror experience that they release the tension bulb near the end to kind of give you some empowerment after being tense for so
Mm.
long. They kind of nailed that in there. But I do feel like that game recovers a lot of momentum and tension near the end. Dude,
Yeah.
when there's like more than two aliens kind of going around, I was soiling myself. I was like, that is so unfair. I was like, that is so unfair that now I have to like keep track of two of these fuckers now.
Well, that's
But
why you had the flamethrower though. You have a
uh
way. You actually have a way to defend yourself finally.
exactly. But even then, like you have to be really careful because now you have to
Mm.
take care of like the little like penis monsters that suck your face off. Like
Yeah.
one could kill you and things like that.
Face
It's
huggers, Alex.
yeah, I know.
Penis monsters.
Yeah, I mean they look like that because the HG Geiger like design is so flagella looking. There's so much about that. There's so many sexual undertones to the Alien series, including what the alien supposed like why the alien hunts humans specifically, if you really think
It
about it.
impregnates them. Yes.
Exactly. So it's like I would say, you know how a lot of people love talking how Spider-Man or Star Wars or the Jedi games are like the creme of the crop when it comes to like look or even the Batman Arkham series like this is top tier licensed video game. Look how well they
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
the
That
license.
that's an insane opinion.
Alien, yeah,
Yeah.
Alien
It's not even
deserves
close.
to be there. Like Alien absolutely deserves to be there. And I'm glad that this game has grown like this is one of the few times that I would say that it just shows that a review is not the be all end all of like what
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like
Absolutely.
and I feel Alien like overstepped the people that got the review wrong. I
Yeah.
would say the people that scored it in the eights, it's probably where it's right because again, like I have a lot of problems with that robot section, and because that's where the game also blue balls you so often into thinking you're about to finish because it crescendos so
Yes.
many times.
Three times. Three times.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I'm like, it's still going. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand, like, and I can imagine someone's in a time crunch and wanted to finish it, and if you're already not like in the
Yeah.
mindset to really take your time, because you have to take your time and really study how like the mechanics of this game. I love how this is a stealth game that I cannot play it as a traditional stealth game because Alien is so incredibly smart. It's an feat in AI design what they did with this Alien.
You can't. I mean, I didn't watch your streams because they were
Uh-huh.
all late at night, but you can't overuse your tools.
Nope.
You have to only use them in emergencies so that it doesn't stop reacting to them.
Exactly. Not only so she can learn, understand how you play. Like there was a
That's
point
what I
where I was,
mean. Yeah,
yeah, like and not only use tools. If you're hiding all the time in lockers, she'll know to look into lockers. So it's
yeah,
like it's like if she like, if you start using a lot of the gas that you kind of put in to kind of like blind yourself and kind of move around, if you use it too often, she adapts fine.
yeah,
Her eyes adapt. She can then see you in that thing. So it's like it makes sure that you use every tool in your disposal and that you know how to not overuse it because she's gonna be so freaking like smart. That's the
yeah.
thing, like the AI of the alien makes me think that the AI of Mr. X is like woefully inept in comparison. Like I feel like I'm always terrified of how this alien is gonna like behave, and that to me is such a feat of what they were able to do way back in 2014. And even till this day, I feel like it has such AI. Like the AI of that alien is still so beyond anything that I've ever seen. It's actually pretty impressive. And I also have to say, like the visual design of this game, holy shit! Like this is insane how good
Yeah,
it looks.
this goes back to what you said. I mean, this is not to dog on those games, but if your idea of a peak license is a superhero game,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't really have a good opinion
Mm-hmm.
because the reality is, it's okay. Something I was thinking about the other day:
Mm-hmm.
Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically better Arkham Asylums, except they're not Batman.
Uh-huh.
It's exactly what they are.
The combat
They
is
pl
so similar to them, like
they play like a better Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, you know, whatever,
mm-hmm.
whatever. But they don't need that's the difference. I mean, I'm not just trying to shit on the Arkham games.
Mm-hmm.
The Arkham games are pretty good games that are made better by doing well with the license, right? But the reality is they're not the greatest games.
I would say this that it's like they've never like you have to take the Arkham Asylum specifically in the context that when it came in 2009, conventional wisdom was that licensed games was
I
dog
do
shit.
understand that.
Yeah.
I do understand that, and I'm not taking that for granted. I am simply saying if you look at it as a game, it's an adequate game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would even say it's a good game, but it's
It's
not
a
a great
it
game.
it's a really
It's
good stealth game. It's a good potpourri of things.
the IP probably elevates it a little bit more. Whereas Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei, which we're going to do, are effectively the same game. I will say you could probably say the stealth's a bit better in the Arkham games,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's still fairly similar, right? But they don't need the IP to elevate them.
Mm-hmm.
Aliens, on the other hand, would probably be a pretty good game, but it's a really good version of the Aliens universe. And the
Mm-hmm.
Aliens universe, like using the Aliens universe, specific and the Aliens visual design and the
Mm-hmm.
Aliens settings
The
and you know
sound,
overall
everything.
story, all that stuff, right? Is what really does make it special. It is the first time. Even I mean, I even loved the old Alien versus Predator games back on
Mm-hmm.
PC, but the reality is they they were more aliens. You know, I mean, they weren't really based on the aliens. They just simply had the aliens in them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they didn't have the aesthetic of aliens. Whereas
Exactly.
this is really the only game I can think of that actually has the true aliens aesthetic.
Yeah, and the
Um,
1979 Alien, because of when
right,
Aliens,
right.
when James Cameron took over and made Alien more of an actiony kind of like thing, and that's the and so many things have to like I would say Gears of like you look at Gears of War, big inspiration of what happened with Aliens, like kind of like in the with the Marines with shooting at the aliens and all of that. There's like you can see big correlation how that inspired a lot of Space Marine aesthetic against
Inspired Doom.
aliens. Yeah, pretty
Inspired
much.
Doom for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, but Alien, like original Ridley Scott
yeah.
1979 Alien, this game perfectly recreates the
Yeah, I was saying
tension.
aliens, and I did actually mean alien.
Uh-huh.
There's a reason why it's not called aliens isolation. It's
Exactly,
called
it's Alien.
alien isolation
Isolation. Exactly. It's
because
just like
it is that style with the padded walls and all that
mhm.
stuff. Whereas aliens was obviously on like the
And I
military
tell you,
base.
especially like because that game was done on a custom engine too.
Yeah.
Gosh, how great that thing looks because how like the visual the atmosphere of that game, I was constantly in awe, even if it was just 1080p. I'm like,
I will say one thing. The game ran like shit originally.
yeah.
You obviously had some extra horsepower to boost it here.
Mhm.
That game did not run well on the Xbox One
Yeah,
or PS
it didn't run well on
PS4.
Xbox One. It ran well on PS4. I watched the Digital Foundry because I was like trying to see because
After a lot of patches, when that game launched, I'm telling you, it was a disaster at launch.
uh,
It,
at
it, it at
at
launch, it
long
did
yeah
not run well at all. on either one.
On PS4 they had the analysis that it worked well. If you were playing on Xbox One, you were screwed because that game did not run well. Then the original Xbox One X playing it just with extra horsepower stabilized it. Then they gave it FPS boost, so it runs it's the only on Xbox is the only version on console that runs at 60 and it runs it perfectly, but it still maintains the 1080p visual style. They never gave it a 4K visual. And I'm like, I wish they could because gosh, this aesthetics would like
I don't.
murder right now.
I actually don't. I think 4K would hurt the. It would make it too sharp. It wouldn't look right.
Actually, yeah, right now you're mentioning, yeah, you're right with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's
It is designed to look the way that it does. If it was up-resed, it probably would actually ruin the image a little bit.
mhm. Yeah, if they could keep it at 1080p and just like
Yeah.
raise the frame rate on a PS5, that could also work because there's so much beyond resolution about like the atmosphere, the effects, the
Hmm.
way the computers look at the
Right.
film grain and things like that. It's just so like I feel aesthetically there's not like the only game in recent times that to me was like, oh, this aesthetic reminds me of this was Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones game from Machine Games, like visual aesthetic. I was like, yeah, this feels like a very uniquely reminds me of the movies. It took so long for that to happen, and it didn't need to be an Unreal Engine thing. And Alien feels even more atmospheric because it's sci-fi too. So like getting to see like the atmosphere of the planet that bathes into light in specific areas of the Sevastopol, going into the nest of the aliens and just how creepy and like just like chunky. If you're they're just that game is just masterpiece when it comes to present to nailing the alien aesthetic. And I would say reviews always kind of gave it that. It's just that then
Oh
the
yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Even the most scathing review still said it nailed the feeling of Alien.
mhm. Yeah, and I'm glad that there's a sequel happening. I'm very glad that it finally happened. It's from what I understood why it took so long because I was kind of like looking digging up why there's like this developer called Del Walker. He worked at Creative Assembly around the time of Halo Wars 2. So obviously after Alien Isolation, they went to work on Halo Wars 2 over those next 3 years. And around the time that they released Halo Wars 2, the Alien IP kind of got tangled because of the Disney acquisition of 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
And it took until many years later, like around 2019, where John Drake, who worked at PlayStation, and then he moved over to Disney to kind of like untangle a lot of the IP licenses of everything that was now under the Disney umbrella. That's kind of where Lucasfilm games happened. That's where Marvel games kind of like got more strongly like rooted. Because at that point, remember, Star Wars was like under the EA deal original. That was just like exclusive, but then Lucasfilm games kind of got formed, and that's where Outlaws and Indiana Jones kind of fell on. And they also created a 20th century like initiative that's where Alien lived. And once that finally got untangled, they finally worked with Creative Assembly, who apparently had a design doc ready for an Alien Isolation 2. Kind of like that was just kind of being held there until like all the license problems was kind of like untangled. And just to see like if there was interest in the Alien IP, as you can see, just this last year we got Alien Romulus and Alien Earth. Like the Alien IP is still kind of kicking, like somewhere there, like in the vernacular, people still like it. Like the Alien Earth show, season finale aside, that show was like pretty well liked. Romulus was a nostalgia play for the original Alien. Some people really like that. Other people, how people feel with movies that are more echoes of nostalgia than new things. It's great in the moment, and then you don't really think of look at Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So I'm glad that sequel is gonna happen. I am really curious to see if they're really gonna take into heart the harsh reviews because I think it's pretty remarkable how positive a lot of people think about how that game was as it was, even years later, and how that stature has grown. That I'm glad that it has gotten like it's gotten old enough that it's gotten revision. It's gotten kind of like those think pieces that like that IGN review that IGN like revisit that you mentioned from Matt Purslow that he wrote in defense of Alien Isolation, revisiting the review and kind of like addressed directly like the criticisms that happened last way and kind of like justifying why the criticisms were said and kind of give an explanation why they were slightly wrong in a way.
Mm.
I like that happened, and shows kind of like the power when no one's perfect. Some people are gonna get opinions wrong once in a while, and in that case, that's always gonna be Ryan McCaffrey's scarlet letter,
Yeah.
no matter what. And
That said, I mean, I give him credit on one thing. he does say he stands by his review. I don't agree with it, but I
Uh-huh.
respect that he didn't back down on it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, yeah, you can stand. It's like our dearly departed other host that he's for
Yeah, well,
like,
you're
yeah.
allowed to have a handful, not an entire
Exactly. Not
basket
entire.
of them.
Exactly. So it's
That's
like
the difference. That's the difference.
yeah, you just have to understand that. Yeah, you can stand on that thing. Just understand that you probably got it wrong. So,
Yeah.
and then the final game that I kind of want to talk about because I also played this on stream because I haven't played much off stream in recent times. Dispatch. This is the game from Ad Hoc Studios, that former Telltale group that kind of formed and wanted to do that kind of game outside of like the Telltale umbrellas. But the fact that Telltale kind of exists again, but these are former Telltale developers. So this was announced at the Game Awards last year. So it's kind of like a superhero workplace comedy. That's kind of how it was sold, with a visual style that will remind you of Invincible from Robert Kirkman. That you can also watch like that the animated adaptation of that over on Amazon. And I would say like this was a pleasant surprise for me, like in the story department, because I thought it was just gonna be like a crass Invincible like. I was not expecting a game that was so engrossing, so funny, so interestingly thought provoking about workplace structure, while also being a really interesting strategy game on top of its choice-based narrative that happens. So like you play as this like character that's known as Mecha Man. He's also called Robert Robertson. A lot of people make fun of him and of having that first and last name, and how he kind of like had a he failed in one of his last missions. He lost like his big thing. He's kind of like an Iron Man guy because like he's a guy. It's a world of superpowers, but he's not a superpowered guy. Like his superpower was his mecha suit, and that mecha suit got destroyed. And then he has to kind of find purpose, and that purpose is kind of given when he meets a super heroine called Blonde Blazer. I think is what she was called. That offers him a job at this basically dispatch office place, or someone that sets superheroes and reform villains into like different kind of missions, and you're the ones kind of like giving them the orders, and you're kind of handling that and have to choose what are some of the heroes that are better suited for specific jobs that happen at a certain point in LA. And it's like a it's an interesting it's an interesting like premise, and I do like that it's not a these are not Marvel or DC heroes. It's like its own original thing. So that makes it kind of, even though you can see like there's stereotypes in some of the heroes that are represented, and even some of the villains, it still feels wholly unique. And it's a game so strongly carried by earnest, well written, sharp writing. That reminds me why Telltale was used to be considered some of the best writers of just narrative only games. Obviously, these are just narrative only style games. If you're not a fan of Telltale style games, I don't think this would. Maybe the strategy of like dispatching the heroes and all that would be like the gameplay that you're looking for, but it's still pretty. I wouldn't say it's the most in depth thing, but it just at least gives it a little bit of a game side to it. So it's not just you're choosing dialogue and choosing choices, things like that. The one thing I really also want to praise them for, I on stream yesterday, I played the first 4 episodes. There are 6 of them available. The final 2 are available next week. And they did the thing that Telltale never did, which was
Sticking
finished.
to their thing, yeah.
Exactly. Finish the fucking game, then set a release schedule so that you can, because I remember I was a Wolf Among Us player back in 2013 where I played that first episode in October 2013. The second episode didn't come out at all until February 2014. That's insane
Yeah.
time to wait. And that was
Yeah.
because their development tool was so garbage. Like you
Mm,
always knew that the development tool was so garbage because older games always ran like shit. They always had bugs. It would sometimes eat saves and things like that. And it was so garbage that sometimes you were playing the PS4 or PlayStation version of one of their games with Xbox prompts. Like
yeah.
sometimes. So it's like they were just badly QA'd games. Like this thing's insanely polished. It's like they clearly it's like it's so beautiful looking in its graphic style. Like it never like bugged out at any point. It's like there was nothing any technically wrong at all. I'm glad that I saw that they really fully cooked this thing and had the whole thing ready. That in a period of 4 weeks, they're releasing 2 episodes every week, every Wednesday, and 6 of them are out. I stopped at 4 so that I wait until next Wednesday when episode 7 and 8, the final ones, are out, and then I'm gonna binge the rest. And that's and even for the people, if episodic releases are not your thing, if you're more of a binge watcher slash player, you only needed to wait a month, and then the whole thing was out. You win out for the people that like the weekly feed, drip feed, because it's like interesting things happen at the end of every even episode. So episode 2 or episode 4, let's say, that I could imagine were like in like old school television, like you would start like discussing it with people. Where is this thing gonna go and things like that. I feel like it kind of has that little intrigue, and it was just, and I just love these characters a lot. I feel they're like so well acted, so well voice acted. Yes, there's some like known voice actors, and then even from content creators like Moist Critical and Alana Pierce that are kind of like in it. It's like besides Alana Pierce, which is so
He
obvious who she is,
he always jokes about his
voice
voiceover roles, yeah, because he was
exactly,
also in one of the Hunger Games, I think is what his
exactly.
big thing is, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like I would say Moist Critical, like unless you know his voice, I wouldn't recognize who he was, like who he was
He
there.
does have a very generic voice, so
Exactly.
yeah,
So it's
I could see it not being noticeable.
yes, Alana's is so defined. She's a demon lady, Malevola is what she's called. You can really tell she does good in that role. She's like a minor role. Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad fame, he's the main character. He does a wonderful job as your main character. I really love Laura Bailey's character in Bisigal. Like I love where that character has gone. I love the blonde blazer character too. She's voiced by whoever did the Snow White voice over in The Wolf Among Us. I was like, I kind of get similar vibes to the Snow White for that they did over in that game. You can tell it's Telltale people. They even make a Wolf Among Us reference in this game, so you can kind of tell it was some of the same people. So, again, if you're hankering for just a narrative only game that's funny, earnest, well written, very polished, and you've been hankering for that Telltale style while lamenting that style for a while, got like so bogged down by the fact that they just couldn't get their technical shops right. I feel this is a good example of someone taking that idea, making a new studio, and so far delivering. Let's see if it lands the ship because Telltale completely dropped the ball in their finales. Like later on, early Telltale would sometimes deliver on season finales, and they were like, okay, there are a few rough spots along the way, but so far they nailed 4 episodes, and I'm gonna be streaming episodes 5 to 8 next week. Also, nudity beware. And let's just put it at that. You can like censor the nudity. How they censor is so fucking funny. They just put a black bar. Like there's a literal black bar, like how they do it. So I feel it adds to the comedy if you play it that way. It helps a lot if you're kind of like streaming it and you don't want your
Mhm.
you want to get like content ID. Were you ever big on Telltale, Rick? But based on your reaction, I don't think
Uh,
you were. So that
well,
I kind of
yeah,
figured.
there is zero interest in this for me.
Yeah, but for those that are interested, I tell you, like this was gonna be like in my favorite games of this year, just on narrative alone. I was like I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and that was a fun, chill time playing it too yesterday. Kind of like seeing the reactions to some of the choices that I made, and then seeing how you're in this percentage of people chose this versus the other one. It kind of was like funny. I was like, oh, I was an outlier in some of these choices. I'm quite despicable in some way, some of my choices here. So I kind of like it. And I have not played a narrative game, just narrative only game like this since like I don't even remember. Probably Until Dawn. Probably like so. It's been a while for me. And Until Dawn is more of a game. And by the way, I didn't download the Until Dawn PS5 remake. They put it on PS Extra. I kind of want to see it because I never bought it because I heard such horrible things about it. Last year apparently it got fixed, so probably I'll do that on stream. But yeah, that's all basically what that I've been playing. Go play Dispatch. It's $25 if you're interested. So actually 30, and it's the whole thing's gonna be out by next week. By the time you listen to the next episode. Time to read some headlines, Rick. I'm gonna start with this first one because I wrote this one. I'll leave the last one and then I'll let the ones that you editorialize yourself. So this was very serendipitous that it broke an hour before we started recording. So Grand Theft Auto 6 has gotten its second delay. Originally scheduled to come out sometime in 2025 before they pushed it to May 26, 2026, Rockstar Games has confirmed the new release date is basically nuking the release calendar of fall 2026. Grand Theft Auto 6 will now release on November 19, 2026, so we're approximately a year and change removed from finally playing what's clearly the most anticipated video game in industry history. This also follows the same pattern of what happened to Rockstar Games' last major title, Red Dead Redemption 2, where an initial reveal in October 2016, which by the way was also the same date that the Nintendo Switch was revealed, came with a vague release window for fall 2017, which led to a spring 2018 delay before a final definitive release date on October 26, 2018. So, will this be the final delay? We'll see. In other news, Xbox anniversary plans for the fall are now royally fucked.
Yeah, will Playground Games now be shut down because
Yeah.
Fable's not going to sell for shit now?
Yeah, if it's planning if it was being planned for the fall, it's over. Like it's over. It's like
Mhm.
a Halo anniversary. Like I could imagine they were probably aiming the Halo
Halo will be
anniversary.
okay. I don't think Fable stands a chance being up against this.
Mhm.
But
Gears,
assuming it's coming out at that time.
yeah, and Gears of War E-Day was also and also Forza Motorsport 6. Like they basically have telegraphed that next year because of the 25th anniversary of the Xbox brand. They were lining up the Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, burger, fries, shake, and potatoes. Kind of like combo that is known for Xbox. The only like tried and true like combo that used to be very reliable back in the day. For 2026 for the anniversary. And I'm like, I'm really curious to see how Microsoft reacts to this because it's like, not, I want to see how the rest of the industry like pulls up because we know, like for example, Death Stranding 2. Why did it come out in like June of this year? Kojima said he was scared of GTA 6.
Mm.
Like he knew it, so he was able to finish that thing ahead of scale, and he was able to push it forward. A lot of the fall, September, October games of this year being so cramped together is very clear to me that they were also trying to get away from a potential fall release of GTA 6. It's so funny that that happened for next fall now. But then no one
Hmm.
decided to blink and be like, hey, could we push somewhere in November or December now because everything's like
Hmm.
so vacant? Everyone just decided to dump everything in September and October. I want to see what the lead up to November is. I feel that's enough time to kind of know at this point. I would be surprised if they push it to 27, right? Because they follow the same pattern as RDR2. Technically, this is uh, an even more ambitious game than RDR2, I would fathom, with how long it's been in development.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
I imagine it's also been feature complete for a very, very long time. I'm sure
mhm.
they're in pure polishing and optimization
Yeah,
now. It's just with as big as it is, it's going to take a while to do
and they
that.
basically said that they're just doing it for polish because there's
Yeah.
like we know what you want to do for polish. So and at this case, look, it's been 12 years at this point, 13 years for waiting for this game. Is like if you want to be the most impressive thing ever conceived by a video game maker, is like what's an extra year?
Yeah.
Literally, it's like a
Yeah, and I mean, outside of a few nagging little issues, if you remember, Red Dead Redemption 2 launched not on
spot.
PS4, but
Yeah,
in a very, very good state. It was very polished.
I would argue it launched in a good because it wasn't buggy and at all. The only thing that wasn't working
It
was
was
the HDR.
HDR was broken on
Mhm.
PS4, yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
the base PS4 version worked fine. It was like that
right,
from the
right,
base machines playing on base PS4 was good. It was the PS4 Pro version that had like more
right,
problems, and
right.
you wanted to play that on Xbox One X if you had the choice because Rockstar, even having the marketing beat for with PlayStation for RDR2, they're like, oh, we have more horsepower here. Let's take
Yeah,
advantage of that, and they really did. That was like the
man,
only time the Xbox One X was like a definitive. You need to play this here.
right.
They never did that again, that generation. It was not even Xbox did that. So it was Rockstar, the one that actually gave the Xbox One X a killer app. It's will we get Red Dead Redemption
But
2 PS5 Xbox Series X version, Rick, soon? The anniversary did come and go.
also, there you go. That could very well be part of the reason right there.
Yeah, it
Just
could.
a hey, let's we don't have to rush it out. We know this is gonna sell. I'll bet you that comes out in January or February at this point.
Yeah, I can imagine. So it's like now we know. Like I am so curious. I'm just so curious to see if this holds. They've given themselves a full damn year for this. So
Hmm.
I know the only thing that people are concerned about are more like the industry analysts that follow console sales and trends because they've been waiting for this game just to
Hmm.
see if this is because they've been like notices like yeah, so many people still hold on to PS4 and their Xbox Ones. They're not making the transition to the new generation because the live service games are all there. By 2026, so many PS4 live service games are shutting down to force them to PS5, like Genshin Impact. So I do wonder if it's like a is this actually gonna be the final thing that finally like makes the current trend of
Well,
where consoles are like in sales to go up, especially like on the
I
PlayStation
mean,
5? Yeah.
you're going to see a lot of PS5 sell in,
Hmm.
is it November? Is that what the
Yeah,
date is?
November 2026. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of PS5 sell in November.
Yeah.
Um, you're not going to see an Xbox sell because nobody's going to buy that fucking thing anymore because of Microsoft.
Uh-huh.
But you will see PS5 sell. What I'm curious about, and I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, but I do wonder if in time they're going to try to get a Switch 2 version. I think that might
Hmm.
be a tall
A tall
task that
task. Yeah.
I don't know if they can do. But there's a lot of
Very.
units. There's a lot of Switch 2s out there.
And I will say, understanding that they work kind of work in the same engine, there is supposedly a Red Dead 2 version of coming to Switch.
Uh,
So that could be like the test bed to see like if this can work. Because I like
there's a big difference between this and Red Dead 2, though.
yes, exactly.
There's a big difference.
Exactly. But that could be like a test bed. It's still the same. They,
Yeah,
they work with the same technology. The Rockstar is
yeah,
pretty consistent with that. They
yeah.
really like build upon like so many different
Well,
techs. Like Table Tennis gave them the Rage engine for the physics that then they use in GTA 4, and that kind of like spiraled to everything that they ended up doing. So it's like they're really smart with their tech, and they're
yeah,
geniuses.
Rockstar really are not given enough credit on their tech. I
Hmm.
hear is it Colin always said GTA 5 was ugly? It's like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Uh-huh, exactly. Yeah.
GTA 5 looked insane when it came
Exactly,
out.
exactly for the hardware that it was on,
Yeah,
and for the size, for the scope
yeah,
and size of that open
yeah,
world too, and it ran better than GTA
yeah,
4. That's the
yeah,
irony. So it was like the
yeah.
later gen. Like I would have expected it to run worse, it being a more
Mm,
ambitious game on cranking hardware, but no, it's like
mm.
they really mastered it.
It
So
also ran in a significantly higher resolution.
then GT.
That's part of what makes GTA 4 so hard to play now is it runs at like 480p half the time.
Mhm.
Whereas 5 really did hold a pretty consistent, probably 8 to 900p, somewhere around there, depending.
720p on the PS3 and the 360,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah. I'm referring more to the PS4 version, but yeah.
PS4 version was locked 1080p. Xbox One version
Okay,
dropped to 900p. And there's
okay,
the next gen version that they pulled
right,
that they dropped
right.
in 2022 that added ray tracing and all that. That's why I've
Right.
been like so blue balled of them. Like, you did that for GTA 5. Like, why aren't you not doing that to Red Dead? Come on. So, but I
Yep.
also get it. GTA is like a money
Well,
purse.
one has a big multiplayer mode, one does not. That's
Exactly.
the big
And the
difference.
multiplayer that one was rudely abandoned. So
Yeah.
GTA 6 coming out in 2026. I'm still my excitement for this game is still industry based. I just want to see like the hype of like a general industry like sized event because I have to admit that GTA 5 is a game that I'm not too fond of, but I want to revisit it. I haven't revisited it in 12 years. So that's why I'm like I can respect it as a I want to as a student of the industry, I want to see what this game does. Like for is this if this doesn't move PS5s, then this just goes to prove that a lot of people just became so entrenched in live service games and
Yeah.
people are okay with
Yeah, if this
common
doesn't move them,
denominator. Yeah.
nothing will if it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, and probably PS6 will be the thing that would move them because it's like you getting every other iPhone kind of. It's like, oh, I skipped this entire generation of iPhone. Now I'm getting the other one, kind of like that. So people like
Mhm.
skipping. Maybe that's what's gonna happen, but that's kind of like the problem of us having these black hole games now. And GTA 5 was also one of them. GTA Online still works on PS4. It still
Mhm.
does. So this one, we're going now to your editorial lesson, Rick. Take it away.
So this was yesterday. IGN posted a report detailing Dante's Purgatorio. I mean, technically, I guess it was called Dante's Inferno too, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe this was the subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel to Visceral's 2010 God of War-esque Dante's Inferno,
Mm-hmm.
which was arguably known for arguably known more for its insane Deadly Sins marketing campaign than the game itself was.
Yep.
If you know, you know.
Yep.
That game covered the first one third of Dante Alighieri's 1400s The Divine Comedy, wherein our
Mm-hmm.
titular hero fights his way through Hell or Inferno, as it's called, to
Mm-hmm.
save his beloved Beatrice from our good buddy Lucifer.
Who has a
The fall.
big dick in that game.
I'm sure he does. I actually never played all the way through it.
Oh man, you
The
have not? Oh my god, you have to look
uh,
at videos of the boss fight against Lucifer. It's
I
insane.
want to say I stopped somewhere on Gluttony.
Yeah.
The follow-up would then cover his battle through Purgatory prior to the eventual third game's war between heaven and hell.
Oh man.
Most interestingly to me, personally, is that the script indicates it would have kind of combined the Divine Comedy and Paradise Lost and made Lucifer somewhat of a morally ambiguous character, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just outright evil as you would
Mm-hmm.
typically think of him.
Mm-hmm.
Dante would have encountered numerous archangels as well, including Michael, Uriel, and Gabriel, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Sadly, EA saw fit to shutter Visceral Games in 2017, and this game never saw the light of day. Albeit,
Mm-hmm.
not because of the shuttering, I don't
No,
think.
no, yeah.
But so this article I actually did read through. It's a pretty long article because it's
Who wrote it? Do you know? Was it Rebecca Valentine?
no, because I would not have even put this here if it was her. Um, just out of spite alone. No, I didn't write who it was. I should have, but I forgot to write the author down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of went through like they got a document from people that worked there that had pictures and all this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
as well as like a step by step of how it was going to be structured.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically would start right after the end
Dante's Inferno.
of the first game, yeah, with him having escaped hell, and it was going to start with him in the Garden of Eden,
Mm-hmm.
talking to Beatrice, and then she disappears, and then bubbles things happen, and then he's going up. I think it called it the Mountain of Purgatorio or something like that, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically all the seven deadly sins, but in reverse. And at the top is Eden, which then has the gates to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And when it kind of went through kind of the stuff that happened, it's like, you know what? Even if the game itself was kind of average, which is what, in my opinion, Dante's Inferno was, it was
Mm-hmm.
nothing really to write home about outside of its actual
Yeah,
Dante's Inferno
it was
setting.
that it was like we got God of War at home with a
Yeah,
real
it was a less good God of War basically,
yeah.
and
Though it's
not 2018 like the old God of
exactly
Wars.
the old God of War it released 2 months before God of War 3. And the only
Was
thing
it
that
that
I would
close?
yeah, it was January. Yeah, January 2010 is when Dante's Inferno came out, and then God of War 3 was March. I do remember that because I was like I did like that Dante's Inferno, at least its visual identity was so remarkably strong. It's just the gameplay was very
Oh
bad
yeah,
for God of War.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
the only problem. But at least
But
from a visual aesthetic, it was a pretty like it was
mhm.
pretty striking.
Well, they didn't shy away from the nudity and gore and
Hmm.
all that stuff, which was
Hmm.
cool. But yeah, apparently, I don't know who it was that described it. It was described to this author from IGN
Hmm.
as what God of War 2018 was to the older ones and stuff like that. It was apparently going to be very set piece based and all that
Hmm.
stuff. Um, and some of the stuff that was going to happen, it's like, damn, that actually does sound really freaking cool.
The author of
Like,
this article, by the way, is Tim Brinkoff. Don't know who that is. Just
okay,
want to give him a shout out.
maybe he's a freelancer then.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I'm not familiar with him either. But evidently, I mean, obviously Lucifer was going to be the primary antagonist.
Hmm.
Uriel was going to be like the secondary antagonist, which is kind of interesting.
Hmm.
So me personally, I have always been quite fascinated with
Hmm.
this part of like Christian mythology, like
Hmm.
not the Bible, but
No,
the lost like
the
heaven,
yeah, the
the
angel. Yes,
archangels,
the
and Lucifer falling from grace,
hmm.
and the war between heaven and hell and that kind of stuff. I have always found this stuff very, very fascinating.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, for reasons that I'm pretty sure we can all guess, so many places are afraid to touch this with a 10-foot
Hmm.
pole
Yeah.
because you'll have one side bitching that you're t taking God's name in vain. You'll have another
Hmm.
side bitching that you're even mentioning God.
Uh-huh.
So
You
basically, it's
know,
a no-win situation.
you
It's a
lose it.
no-win situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you lose it. And
yeah.
by the way, skimming through the article. The concept art of this
It's
game is
amazing. It's amazing.
amazing. Holy crap.
Did you get
Like,
to the did you get to the picture of Lucifer at the end? He looks
yes.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, and that's not how he looked in Dante's Inferno 1, because in Dante's
Yeah.
Inferno 1, it was like what you would expect with the horn, but they also had like he had a literal mandingo dick that had physics on it. Like you can like ask for it. It's like it's so funny. Like why do you give him that? Like it reminds me of the what's the end of the world comedy from 2013 that had James
Oh,
Franco and
end of the world. End of yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or This Is the End. I don't know that it's like
Yeah, that's it. That's it. This is the end. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it reminded that because the devil the
Yeah.
Antichrist also had that too. So it's like
Uh,
it's so funny that those two things were like that, but this would have been like really cool. And again, it's just
it
like the
sounds
frustrating.
there were some genuinely cool ideas in this.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they said they were going to have multiplayer, which I don't know about that. That probably would have been kind of ham-fisted.
Hmm.
But like, evidently, late in the game, Michael, being
The
the basically the leader of the
Archangel
archangels.
Michael, huh?
Yeah, right, right. He was not privy to God's plan, which is, I believe I think it said it's Saint Lucia that's telling Dante this, um, which is to basically, I think it said it was to let Lucifer into heaven because the whole point then was God was going to reset everything.
Hmm.
I think that's what it said.
Hmm.
Um, but Michael was not privy to this.
Uh,
So he was trying to close the gates, which creates issues because Dante's trying to get Beatrice into heaven.
hmm.
And then that creates issues with Gabriel. And then
Hmm.
at some point, Uriel rips off Gabriel's wings and then beheads him. It's like,
Hmm.
this sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah,
And
and of course that
we're never gonna get it. Which, to be
all.
clear,
Hmm.
it's entirely possible we never would have got that anyway, even if they did choose to make this game.
Hmm.
But but it's like, man, that is a bummer because again, I like the idea of Dante's Inferno much less or much more than I like the actual product.
Mhm.
There is a lot here that I'm like, this really could have been something special, actually.
Yeah, if they would have let them cook and maybe even find
Mm,
some of more of a gameplay identity for itself, like that could
yes,
like stood. And here's also the thing. God of War, like we only got two mainline God of Wars that generation, the PS3, and then after Ascension was like tepidly received. Wrongly, not so much, I would say. Like it's definitely aged better
I didn't
now.
like it at all. I didn't care
Exactly.
for it at all.
Exactly. So a lot of people were so tired of that formula around that point. Maybe they could have found something and people were like would have missed this kind of style of game that they could have this would have hit around this time. Unfortunately, we know what happened with Visceral after they did Dante's Inferno, they saddled them with doing the third Army of Two game, the Devil's Turf, which was bad. Then
I
they
didn't know there
gave
was a third one. I thought there was only
yeah,
two.
good thing you didn't know. That was 2013.
Uh,
Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel. It was bad game, and which was unfortunate because I liked the first two
yeah,
quite a
they were
bit.
okay. They were okay.
And then in 2014 they got the Star Wars license, and kind of like what we know, it was like kind of like a the Star Wars 1313 project kind of like
Mm,
that. The guys wanted to salvage the 1313 project. They went to Visceral to be like, this is what we've had. It's kind of please take it. And Visceral was like, yeah, well, we're gonna do Star Wars, but we're gonna do it ourselves. And that's kind of when Amy Hennig kind of joined in and
right.
all that. But then they EA wanted to annualize Battlefield, and that's kind of where Hardline came in, and they told Visceral they needed to make that, and then they were not properly resourcing the Project Ragtag Star Wars game like it needed to be like what Amy Hennig was used to back in the Naughty Dog game era, to what they needed
Mm,
for that kind of game, and then like EA went through that stupid like they always do, they always rock pull you. And they always
mm,
kind of go down their greedy pivot. They're like, we want service games. So what we're looking for in the Star Wars game, we wanted it to be more where was the FIFA Ultimate Team version of the mechanic that was gonna make us money here
mm,
and all of that. And then they shattered Visceral because of that, because they were like they were not making enough progress. They were pre-prioritizing things, and even whatever they worked on, they gave it to EA Vancouver, and then they even canceled that too. So it's
mm,
like it's so unfortunate that because they put them into this, and they were also working on a space pirate game that wasn't Star Wars. That was going to be
mm,
an original IP. That then when they got Star Wars, they were like, could we like rework it? Kind of similar to what Respawn. They were experimenting on a melee style Souls like that. Then it became the Jedi games whenever they got the license. They were already
mm,
prototyping that. So in another universe, we would have gotten an original IP from Respawn Entertainment that was melee focused. That was basically a Jedi games, but not Star Wars. So it's so sad to think about that they had all this like amazing concept like to already. I
mm.
can't wait to really read this entire thing. Like, does it give context of where he got all this info? Like, did he like buy?
It says that they talked to like numerous people that worked on the
Okay,
project,
okay,
but
yeah,
obviously it's not going to name names because I assume a lot of this was probably
of the record.
yeah, yeah, right, right. Well, not off the record, because obviously they have official concept art.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like.
But I assume it was probably actual NDA'd information
Mhm.
that they were not allowed to give, but did
And it
anyway.
makes sense. Like, look, it's been 15 years since Dante's Inferno. So that's
Yeah.
probably enough of a time of an NDA to be able to like at least freely speak about it.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
Visceral
I'm
doesn't
gonna
st
guess probably yeah, since it's not being made, there probably
uh,
wouldn't be under too much scrutiny.
and Visceral doesn't
But
exist anymore.
well, right. But now that being said, I will say one small thing. I don't have the numbers on this. Even if Visceral was alive today, there is no guarantee this game is coming out because I don't think Dante's Inferno sold very well.
No, it didn't.
So it's entirely yeah, it's
That's why
entirely possible.
that's
Even
why it
if
was
Visceral
stopped.
wasn't around, it probably still wasn't happening.
And that's kind of
But
why they did an Army of Two, like for the Devil's Cartel, because it was like, we have your studio, like you're done with that. I'm just kidding. I no, so they did both that and Dead Space 3.
oh yeah, so they made Dead Space 3, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they were also working on Dead Space 2 and all of that. And then when Dead Space 3 kind of like went kaput, and they were like working on that multiple project, and they also did a Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel. Actually, I want to like before I get further, let me just confirm that it was then Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel. Yeah, because I don't want to be speaking out of turn. No, it was done by Visceral. Yeah, they were working on this and whatchamacallit, uh and Dead Space 3 the same year. They put both of these games out within a month. So
Well, I mean,
and
Dead Space 3 had their good team, so that kind of explains
exactly
why Army of
exactly
2 would have been so bad.
exactly. And who did 40th Day? Because it definitely wasn't Yeah,
That
because it
was
was EA
EA
Montreal.
Vancouver, I think. Oh, Montreal. Okay, I see. I
Yeah,
knew it
so
was Canada.
exactly. So EA Montreal did one and two, and then Visceral took on that third game that didn't do well at all. So yeah, so I was not wrong with that. So that's unfortunate. It's like it's it kind of again kind of goes to show you that there's so many brilliant, the fleshed out ideas are somewhere in the sign box
Yeah,
in a lot of these places.
all the good ideas in the world don't make for a good game.
Exactly.
Now,
So,
Visceral is a good team. Don't get me wrong, but just because they had a lot of good ideas here does not mean this would have
but you
resulted
know
in a
what?
good
You
game.
know what? This also reminds me of is kind of just seeing some of these concept art and all that. It's kind of like even still to this day, a lot of people are very shocked to know that Expedition 33 was made by the guy that directed Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So it's like you know that there's like such always such cool ideas that can come out from people that come from these generic sweatshop like developers or like you know that when you're in the big three publisher like in the big three I'm gonna say this at the time the big three like third party publisher that you usually get common denominator like games because they want to like maximize their profits and all that, but
Yeah,
it's like that's like seeing a lot of this concept art just reminds you that there's something really viscerally pun intended cool that they were hoping to fully develop with Dante's Inferno beyond what they had. But hopefully, hey, I want to know because we know we got the La Divina Commedia
that's
game
like
that
a
was announced.
first-person shooter, I think. Or no,
No,
it's
no,
a
no,
Souls-like.
no.
It's a
Yeah,
Souls-like.
did they confirm us as Souls? Like, I don't think they did.
I thought they did. Yeah, I thought they did.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. La Divina Commedia. Uh, Gamescom. Let me see if they confirm it. Uh, they just said it's an action RPG. Do you know?
Okay.
We don't know exactly what that is. Like, I remember it specifically saying, I hope it's not a Souls-like because it's like I just want more action RPGs that are not just this
It looked
style.
very Souls-like to me. I can tell you that much. It
But there
looked
wasn't
very
really,
Souls-like.
yeah. I mean, just from a visual design, I could see it, but that doesn't like fully tell the tale. Like, Phantom Blade Zero has visuals that remind of Souls, but people have played it. That's not a Souls like. That's like Ninja Gaiden
Yes,
style combat
but
game.
they have all of a sudden them being what's it, science, whatever the hell their name is, game science, whatever the hell their name is. Um, they have started using some description of soul, where they used kept saying it's not a souls like, and I mean it's not. I'm not saying it is, but
Yeah,
they've started saying, yeah, we definitely have souls mechanics in there, but the combat's not souls like or anything
yeah.
like that.
Phantom Blade Zero was not made by Gen by
Whatever their name is, SK, whatever.
S game. It's called.
Okay, okay. I
Mhm.
can't remember all these damn Chinese
I know.
companies,
There's so many. There's so many of them.
especially since they have the most generic team names ever.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is probably like a more cooler Chinese
Yeah,
sounding game, but like,
yeah,
but next headline because this was came from Lex Friedman.
yes. Dan Hauser, co-founder and former head of Rockstar Games, I didn't put it here, but also one of
Hmm.
their head writers for every game as well,
Hmm.
gave a pretty meaty interview with Lex Friedman, revealing some juicy details behind, sorry, some juicy behind-the-scenes info. Namely, Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the very greatest games ever made,
Yeah.
objectively, no debate here,
No debating. Yeah, I
was
agree.
likely only possible because of the canceled GTA 5 story DLC. This was actually pretty interesting, I thought.
Hmm.
That was to star Trevor as a sort of secret agent, but per Hauser's words, it never quite came together. Also, in the interview, he revealed the reason for the long announced but never actually seen PlayStation 3 exclusive Agent
Agent.
being quietly shut down. Quote, we worked on multiple iterations of an open world spy game, and it never came together, end
Hmm.
quote. So he didn't go into a lot of detail, but he did say
Yeah.
that's why it never happened.
Hmm.
Additionally, Dan revealed the reason there was never a 3D GTA set in London. There was obviously the top-down one,
Hmm.
1969,
Yeah.
was because American culture and guns are what define the series. I saw people kind of making fun of him for this. I'm like,
Hmm.
if you've played GTA, I don't know how you can dispute what he's saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty, like, I can't see this
It's
series being anywhere but America. It
because
doesn't make any sense.
it's a sharp commentary on the stupidity
It
that
is a
involves
lampooning of
America
American culture
culture.
in its entirety. I do not understand how anybody thinks this would work anywhere else.
Hmm.
Finally, and this got me a little excited, he stated he fully expects there to be a Red Dead Redemption 3 to be made at some point, but that he would feel sad about it. I didn't put it here in my thing, but his words were something like it was made to be
Hmm.
a perfect du uh
A perfect duology.
yeah, duology. Um, I actually had always held on hope, but it's clearly not going to ever happen that they actually would remake Red Dead Redemption 1 in
Hmm.
the
In the
Red
Red
Dead
Dead
Redemption
Redemption. Mhm.
because you figure you got half the world made already.
Exactly.
Um, and the rumor for a long time was that they were going to, because I don't know if you remember this. not terribly long after it came out, somebody noticed that
Jack
Jack
Marston.
Marston's adult voice actor was in the credits of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Hmm.
Well, Jack Marston is a like 5-year-old in Red Dead Redemption
Exactly.
2. So everyone's like, "Oh, clearly they are going to do this. This could be DLC or whatever."
Mhm.
But it never happened. It's like, man, that would have been amazing to have Red Dead Redemption 2 lead directly into Red Dead. Like you just play it all in one fell
Hmm.
swoop, and you would have the Red Dead Redemption 2 mechanics in Red Dead Redemption 1.
Hmm.
It would be the single greatest game ever made if that happened. But it never happened. And I think they did eventually go on the record saying it wasn't something they were interested in doing. I implore you to be interested into doing it, but nevertheless, that said, I do wonder if he's right. If they make Red Dead Redemption 3, where would they go? Because the reality is, Red Dead Redemption 1 is about as late as you
As you
could
can get with
possibly go.
with
Because the
with
whole
cowboy
point
style.
of those two games is they are the end of the Wild West.
Exactly. It's like it's
Yes.
like an old way of living. It's kind of like being usurped by the
Yeah,
modernity of what's
yes.
happening.
Yes.
And you feel it that's so strongly in Red Dead 1. And you see the beginnings of that with Red Dead 2. And it's
Yep.
actually really cool how that
Yeah.
like not even knowing where the
It's what
story
sets
ends.
the whole events of those characters' story and play is they are
Hmm.
clinging to this outlaw life that is just simply not feasible anymore by
Yeah.
this time
And
in
I
society.
understand why he says he fully expects there to be Red Dead 3 because that game is still selling a shit ton of copies even to this day. It has so many like it's not GTA 5, but the fact that it sold 75 million copies, even with so many million copies sold this year of all
Yeah.
years.
And it's their small
Uh-huh.
series.
Exactly. These are small series. Like it's
Yes.
like
But
they'd
it
be
is so
polished.
impeccably and masterfully made. This is what happens when you put a lot of money and a lot of time into a project. Even though, let's be honest, Westerns are not what they used to be in terms of popularity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they still like made
I don't give a damn about Westerns. And I think Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are
are some of the greatest games ever made.
two of the 10 greatest games ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Like
100%.
I could play Red Dead Redemption 2 100 times and
Same.
still not see everything.
Like
Still not see
I've
everything.
only beaten GTA games once ever, and I don't feel compelled to do them. Like maybe GTA 4 is the only one that I beat twice, but there's like I would replay Red Dead 1 and 2 every time because like what the thing that I love the most about that interview that he did with Lex Friedman is that you can really tell how proud Dan Houser feels about Red Dead. He feels like because
It
he had
was
a
his
very
baby, if I remember correctly.
exactly, because they took the Red Dead IP from Capcom when they did Red Dead Revolver on the
Right,
PS2,
right.
but he put a lot of his earnest self into the writing of Red Dead 1
Mm,
and 2 because it's like for GTA, like he flexed his parody muscles basically. He was like
mm,
because he wrote those games kind of like with like the purpose of sharply parodying and lampooning
mm,
American culture, and that was a very specific set. He's like sharply written and all that, but there's an earnestness and like you can see like if you feel like at Red Dead, especially Red Dead 2, there's like such emotional heft in a lot of the events of that game. Like you can
mm,
really see that Dan Houser like really poured all his soul into like an earnest like non-parody like self in, of what he can write into that
mm,
game, and you can tell that like, you can really tell. And I understand why he would feel sad if they do a Red Dead 3 because it's like you see a lot of like the purity of Dan Houser as a human being in
mm.
those games. And that's actually really cool that because you would think based on their popularity of GTA and all that that the Houser brothers would be like this like holier than thou like we're
They're
better
pretty
than
down to earth from what I've seen. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's like with the little clip at of what I saw, like because Ryan McCaffrey got to moderate like a LA Comic Con thing where he showed up before he did this Alex Friedman interview that was actually referenced there. And hearing this interview, it's like, dude, man, these guys like considering like how crass their games mostly are if you just focus on GTA and all that. Holy
They've made like
crap.
like three of the like 10 biggest games in history. Yeah.
Not only that, it's like the way that he expresses
Mm,
himself is like you wouldn't know, and that's actually like makes me highly respect that dude. Yeah, I don't know, yeah, like not to be fair, people can put out their PR face when they're going interviews and all that stuff. It
sure.
could be
Yeah, yeah,
that,
absolutely.
but that's the thing.
Absolutely.
Like I have a way, especially these guys never gave interviews often, like at
Hmm.
all when they were rockstars. They were so secluded from everywhere that made everyone feel like they were like by themselves. Like they didn't even go accept the rewards for
Yeah.
GT for G for Red Dead 2 at the Game Awards. They had other people going for them. That's how secluded they were. Like it wasn't Dan
Hmm.
Houser coming in to get best story and all that. Roger Clark and other people were kind of the ones taking those awards for them when they were like initially sweeping those awards before like God of War took it at the end. So it's like obviously they don't work for Rockstar anymore, so that's probably why he's like more. And I know he has Absurd Ventures, which is kind of like his new studio. I know he's been hiring like this Del Walker guy that I
Is
told
it, is
you.
it him or Sam that was hired? That was the one
No,
running the
Dan.
studio.
Dan is doing Absurd Studios.
Okay,
I don't know where
okay.
Sam is. We're like, where is Sam Hauser? Let's look. Yeah,
Because Dan left in 2020, Sam left
yeah.
in like two, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. So Sam Hauser is an English video game producer. He is co-founder of the current president of Rockstar Games. Is one of the creative driving forces
Oh,
behind
so
the.
he's still there. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought he
Hassan.
left.
Yeah,
Okay.
so but I feel like their writing is
Maybe
for
it's not. Maybe he's not a writer. Maybe that's what
exactly.
it is.
Yeah, Dan is the one that get the writers, while Sam Hauser is like the operator of that entire thing. While at the time Leslie Benzies was the executive producer, so that's why there was like that trifecta of
Yeah,
like Leslie Benzies kept the machinery going, but his creative side is now in question
yeah.
after the disaster of 2025 that we won't mention. You already know what it is. We've already beaten that
But
dead horse a lot. But go watch
yeah, it's
go watch Game Ranks worst games of 2025 video
yeah.
that already.
Look specifically at the number 20 or the game from 2025,
Yeah, it's like it's
and they
pretty
they,
obvious.
they basically say the year's not over, but there's no doubt what it is.
Exactly. We already know at this point. Read the next
Yep.
one.
This will probably just be a quick one, but
Yeah.
UK Parliament debates the Stop Killing Games campaign and digital ownership rights in general. And as is typical for any and all government at this point in the world, they come to the wrong end result,
Like they always
electing
do.
to not make any legislative decisions currently. Quote, digital ownership must be respected, end quote, but evidently not enforced.
Basically, if I understand this, is basically that they heard the arguments about it.
It was all
And
like in the UK, I guess. Unfortunately, we know somebody who probably could talk about this a little bit better, but
I know.
I believe in the UK there is a law where if X number of signatures are made to something, they actually have to legally address it in
Hmm.
a whatever their month. I'm not English, so I don't know their laws, but
Huh?
I think I heard that, and that's what happened is there were something like 200,000 signatures on this to look at this Stop Killing Games campaign. Which for those who don't know, the general and very overview of this is think of what happened with the Crew 1 recently, where it was taken
Hmm.
offline and therefore is
Yeah.
now never playable again.
Hmm.
The Stop Killing Games campaign is specifically somebody trying to say, people spent good money on this. We understand that eventually it reaches an end of life thing, but developers and publishers, however you want to put it, since people are investing money in this,
Hmm.
need to start providing an option for people to continue playing this after the end of life. That doesn't mean see the big blow up happened with this. It's like, well, you can't simply keep paying for it. It's like, no, they're not. They're saying they need to give you the ability to either play it offline, which won't work for every game, obviously, but also another option is you need to give the people the ability to host private servers for or something like that and make
Hmm.
the game playable in perpetuity. The reality is, if you are a player of games and
Hmm.
you don't back this, you are an utter fool. Because they're
Exactly.
trying to say you spent money on this.
Hmm.
Yes, eventually the developer is not going to be updating it anymore.
Hmm.
That should not take away your ability to play
To
it.
play the game, exactly. And that
Yes.
was like that's like the nature of this thing, and the UK just apparently didn't get it.
The amazing part is the UK said they agree. They're like, but
Huh?
we're not going to do anything about it right now.
Yeah, so it's like,
And, and,
well,
and, and unfortunately, had they done it, similar to probably what happened with the ABK acquisition thing, if you
hmm,
remember when this happened,
yeah.
that probably would have effectively forced the EU and then by
Hmm.
extension the FTC to probably do something about it themselves too. So it
Yeah.
almost would have forced their hand to make an address.
I,
But
I,
since
I,
UK Parliament didn't do anything, nothing's going to happen now.
yes, because right now is like the only one that could do something about it because we saw it happen was the EU, like what they did with the iPhone. Because of the
Right,
EU,
right.
every new iPhone now uses
Is
USB-C.
USB instead of their
It
stupid
only
proprietary nonsense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it only took them. And I know that if I remember correctly from when I first heard of the Stop Killing Games initiative, I think there was more of a UK thing that and this is more of an EU thing that was being argued there more so than in the UK. It's just that the
Well,
UK is
I,
kind
I
of like,
think I think it was more because it was easier to get it started in the EU,
uh-huh.
but the idea was to make it a worldwide move.
Exactly, and then the UK, unfortunately, the UK already kind of gave their preliminaries, and they just didn't land somewhere definitive. So now this
Yeah,
move is gonna be again like we don't know legalese right now, and we know that the way legals work in the US is way different than it works over there.
very different.
I
Yes.
just understand that in the EU is that that's probably the bigger front that you want to fight because like if it's like it's such a big enough part of the world, let's just say that it
You,
forces like change and
well, and you get what's the EU? Probably 40 countries.
uh-huh.
You get that many countries underneath it. It's like, okay, well, now the UK does operate pretty differently than the EU, so
Hmm.
you still would have a battle with them,
Hmm.
but when you get to EU first, you've made pretty good inroads already to get things moving.
Yeah, and it's
And the FTC, while again operates on its
mhm,
own, which is the United States governing body, they do tend to follow suit of what happens in Europe, whether it be
exactly.
EU or whatever the UK is called, I guess Parliament at this point.
Yeah.
They do take their results into
Mhm.
account. They still may say we don't agree with this, we're going to let it go, but
Mhm.
they take it into account. So it would be pretty good inroads to get it moving. And again,
And
I am not a lawyer, so I can't really
exactly.
talk. I'm just talking for the past of how it goes.
And now, like if you remember, since you mentioned ABK, the US sued to not let ABK pass. UK blocked. EU
Yeah,
passed. And that
yeah.
allowed the thing to fight it. Yeah, it was in the
I
EU
th
that it passed.
I thought the EU was the one that blocked it, and I thought the UK
No,
passed it.
the UA was the one that was where it passed. The UK blocked it in May of that year. I remember, and then they like focused all their efforts over in the EU, and that's kind of like what gave that deal a lifeline that they were able to take into
Yeah.
court because they knew like the first one to block because they sued was the FTC over at in 22 in December 22, the day of the Game Awards. I remember the game that
Yeah, I remember when it first happened because that's when Phil Spencer did his interview with Kind of
uh,
Funny, and
yeah
for some reason people believed that he was a victim.
yeah.
But
So it's like actually the interview for Kind of Funny happened after the
it
disaster of
actually was
Redfall.
it was, yeah, you're right, that is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so that's the interview with the famous "We lost the worst generation to lose. We could release 10 out of 10 games and no
Yeah,
one would buy an Xbox." And I'm like,
yeah.
dude, it's like look,
There's the
Nintendo,
white flag right
the white flag,
there.
yeah, you're like waving it over there. That's such it's so defeatist because I'm like, I refuse to believe that if they were actually capable of releasing like generational defining games, like actually
Yeah,
generational
yeah.
defining games, people would have gone to their system. The thing that people forget and or people like try to wave is that the group that was currently over what Xbox is currently, they don't have the development acumen to
Hmm.
deliver the kind of game that would make people go look and be like, I want that. That's the problem. It's like it's like all these excuses. Like, where is excuse? Why are people still like buying Nintendo stuff? Why are people still like buying PlayStation stuff? Maybe not in the same amount of numbers, especially because the output is significantly slower now after all the disasters compared to like how it was
Hmm.
just in the first 4 years. But it's like if people find games that appeal to them, they go get that system. That is just basic logic. Don't try to white knight your way into saying that
Right,
exclusive don't matter when we have the proof that they
right,
don't. So it's like
right.
it's just them that's it's just the PR. That's just PR for them. But
It's funny how much that statement's changed over 3 years, isn't it?
oh, absolutely. And remember when like the reason why they were doing all this acquisition was because they wanted to bolster the great
Be
exclusive games to
because they have to compete.
uh-huh.
But now all of a sudden, most people agree that
Exclusive.
console exclusives are antiquated.
Uh-huh. The hypocrisy is off the charts, and the fact that the defense force always like take the new commanding words from the certain Somos is always so funny.
They're worse than religious zealots. They really, really are.
Literally,
They are worse than religious zealots.
they have no backbone, and they have like
Nope,
nothing to stand on. That's kind of what
nope.
happens. But
They just parrot what they're told to tell.
exactly. But then before we get to the rail with that with over that, I feel like if Stop Killing Games continues now, they gotta try to make sure that it gains even more traction again, like where it
Yeah,
started, which was in the EU. Because if
right.
the EU doesn't rule with this, it's over. And I hope it does because I would love for any game that I buy at the very least that they're forced to put an offline mode, regardless. So
Yeah,
like,
it's not asking
well,
for much. It's really
exactly,
not. It's just like
exactly.
it's asking for very basic consumer protection.
And that's kind of like
Purchasing a game.
and the irony of all that because we're actually talking in our chat today about like the worst games, like that the game ranks worst games of the year thing. How for 2024 they put Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, and we both said that
Yeah.
objectively speaking, I think you have to give it to Concord. The thing didn't like the thing
It
died in
didn't
a
last. It
high.
didn't last 3 weeks.
Exactly. It didn't
Yeah.
last 3 weeks. And I do feel the irony of Rocksteady actually promising an offline mode and delivering that offline mode is the fact that it's
Yeah.
still a purchasable product that you can get.
Right.
So the one purchasable product from that year has to have that label, and that is Suicide
Right.
Squad. So
Right.
it's kind of and that's so funny. That was an online only game. And I remember the first time when they on like when they finally gave more details about that game and it was gonna be online only, I was like, this thing looks DOA. This thing's not gonna last. And then
Mm,
they promised the offline mode before release. I was like, well, at the very least, it's gonna be preserved in some way or shape or form,
yeah.
so you can see this disaster in some way.
Mm,
So that's kind of what you want out of your online games. Like, have dignity. People like I hold like people understand this is something you should really fight for. It's like
Absolutely.
You want like your hard-earned money to be worth it into games to not just be like empty stuff. Obviously, for Concord, I got my money back because they gave it to
Right,
me
right.
back.
But
But
but that's the exception and not the rule. Well,
it's,
also, to be fair, it only lasting 2 weeks is also the exception and
exactly,
not the rule.
exactly, especially for a company like as big as PlayStation that are the most stingy
Right.
when it comes to
Ugh,
refunding your
they're the
stuff.
worst.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like they were forced especially strong with the Cyberpunk situation.
Uh,
So that's why I'm like, I hope that this, or at least hope that the UK comes to their senses, considering how things are over there right now. I doubt it. I feel they're kind of like in a similar state to like what's happening with America in a way. The EU seems to be like more in stronger standing when it comes to at least some definitive stuff. But every again, like we live in like non-serious times right now. Let's just say that. Time to get to this other next headline because I'm actually curious where each of us land because I want to hear the spiel. Say it.
all right. Square Enix says it wants AI to be doing approximately 70% of its QA testing by the end of 2027. I imagine the two hosts of this episode will have vastly different opinions on this one.
I want to hear yours first. So,
My opinion is it's QA. Let it happen.
really.
Yes.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
not 100%. When we're talking 70%, I'm talking at this number. Let it happen. Because it's way easier to have an AI or whatever jump 100 times in one location than to have a person
Okay.
do it. And so that
Okay.
because we're talking on the technical side, not the
Hmm.
design side.
Yeah, and that's gonna yeah.
I am not talking design. I am not talking art.
Okay.
I
If we're
am talking QA, which is what this is about.
and but the
And
thing is that QA is
again, oh, sorry, go ahead.
the thing is that QA is so like, especially because the thing is that I had a friend that worked QA over at Naughty Dog. His name was Drew. So I learned a lot about like what a QA does because I thought so. It was like, so are you constantly like just pressing the button and running into things and all of that? It's like he told me that's an element of QA. There's other
Sure.
things that are like QA'd in the you can even kind of see it. It's like are the design choices making for a fun game? What are you looking at? Like
Yeah,
how people
obviously
are
an AI cannot
designing
decide that,
exactly. So it's like
obviously.
so I feel like if what Square wants to do with this, it's like if what they wanted to do is like for AI to like automatize just mechanically some
That
things.
sound from what I read, that is how I understood it because it sounded like it was QA testing, bug testing, not play testing, not design testing. It was entirely checking for
And they have to make that very
the
clear
floor falling out under
because
it. Right,
yeah,
right,
because there's QA that has like it's like here's the QA umbrella and then
right, right.
there's all these things. Like if it's just specifically in one area, I say give it a shot. I definitely say like the more hands-on you have with QA is probably some of the most underrated and
It
underappreciated
is.
elements of what makes some of your favorite games like sing. Like for example, like it's even in the Naughty Dog Grounded 2 like documentary. It's like why are the Naughty Dog games so like insanely polished? Their QA is exceptional in
Yeah.
so many ways, like in so many of those areas. And within QA departments is where you find the next great designers too, because like you have to understand, you have to have an eye of what makes a game tick beyond just functionality. And some of those QA members that understand that beyond just a place, let's play things and let's do it to break it, they have leveled up to become the next game director over there. That's where
Sure.
Matthew
Sure.
Gallant came from over at Naughty Dog. That's kind of like where Anthony Newman came from. That they became
Sure.
like the game designer of things. So it's like they have to be very specific about what they want AI to do over this because if it's like in general they want AI to do all of that QA, I would say this: Square has had great quality in a lot of their main releases like Final Fantasies and all that. Like those games are insanely well polished, like all things considered. Maybe not in the technical side in some areas, but that's
Less
different
the performance
the
mode of Rebirth,
performance mode.
yes.
So yeah, exactly. Like, but that's performance. That's something that's
Right.
outside of like the nature of QA. That's more like into the coding and engine
Yes.
work and all of that. But in the level of polish and functional, like Rebirth is an insanely polished game,
Oh
regardless.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
And then like and ironically with Rebirth, it's like the game was as much in the visual department when you ran in performance mode, but that performance mode ran so much better than the
Oh,
Final Fantasy 16 one.
it ran very smoothly. It
Yeah,
just
it
looked
just
like
didn't
you had
look
Vaseline on your television.
exactly. That was like the only thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the only thing.
exactly. So in that area, but like when it comes to at least the basic functionality, is the game crashing? Like is the game
Right.
crashing? Like actually like for
If it's on the purely technical side is where I am talking.
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not talking about design. I'm not talking where you go,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe this enemy placement's not the best. You got to have a human touch for that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously a lot more to this article than what I typed here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I didn't want to sound like I was plagiarizing VGC, so that's why
Uh-huh.
I kind
Yeah.
of tried to shorten it.
Exactly.
But based on what I read, that is sure how I read it. Is that they're not looking to like they're trying to obviously not expedite, but simplify and speed up the bug testing and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And the reality is
You kind of need that
like
because there's
you absolutely do. You absolutely do.
and to
And
be fair,
basically,
to many people, because people sometimes don't want to accept this. Do you know that there's so much AI that automizes like lip syncing that they
absolutely.
capture
Yes.
from like
Yes.
the mocap and things like that?
Yes.
They have had AI tools that have made game development easy, but they also it's like these are AI tools being done with with the use of human touch because they're tools that are gonna make your life much
Yes.
easier. Like you kind of want that. Where I take like the only time that I take it, especially because this is what this also came in. You didn't put this news like they're laying off right now 100 like 140 people from
That
Square
was
Enix.
reported after
Yeah,
I typed
after
all this stuff.
exactly. So
Yes.
it's like, but to be fair, they're not laying off QA people there. As far as like these are like more of the people in the marketing department and things like that. So it's
Yeah,
like,
and also my understanding is much of this AI thing is probably going to be on their primary studios. The
mhm.
layoffs, I don't even think they were in Japan at all. I think they were
No, they
mostly
were
in
like in the
the
UK. They were
United
in the
States. Yeah,
UK. Some in the US
and
as
there's
well.
going to be some in the U.S. I don't think they've happened yet, but there's going to be some. Yes.
Yeah, which makes me like wonder, like because I need to find because there's like really a guy that I really love from the Square PR team. His name is Chad Consalmo. I wonder if like let me see it because like okay, he didn't get hit, thankfully, or at least he hasn't tweeted about it. He was over under in the blue skies. I like that guy a lot. But they kind of laid out there, so it's like okay, you're laying off those kind of maybe quote unquote redundancies. I know that Square like they had their financials recently where they're like laying down the plan of what they want to do by 2027
Yeah,
and like and all of
they
that.
were in they were in a pretty rough spot. So the reality is they had to get rid of some jobs.
Exactly. And again, because the monies are not being, and we know that notoriously, they probably overspent a lot in like their big AAA games, like with
Mm,
FF16 and probably Rebirth, and
mm,
spending too much considering they made those games exclusive, so they probably
mm,
overspent too much. They're also expecting more returns that they kind of got. That's why they're more pushing more of a multi-platform development structure. Obviously, like we know that they were very vocal about how like being exclusive allowed them to consolidate development, but like
sure.
if they're looking into ROI, we have to accept the fact that maybe like that's the development time's gonna like
Right.
take a bit of a hit, but they're looking more into they want to make that money. So
Mm,
in that case, like I know there's a little bit of Square greed in that because we know that after they didn't want to say anything about reverse sales, and then we got Hamaguchi and Katase being like, "Don't worry about the content of threes. Reverse sold well. Like it's not gonna get shortchanged. Like whatever we're doing for the finale is not gonna get shortchanged because of like what you're hearing of reports of sales." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's your own damn fault, Square." By
right.
like, but us already setting an example that you're never happy with anything that you sell, despite the fact
Right.
that a lot of games would kill to have the sales that you have. Like to me,
Oh yeah.
the most insane thing to me was the yes, they sold 3 million copies of Final Fantasy 16 within the first week on a PS5 only. And then they decided to model that message so catastrophically afterwards
Mm,
that that probably like led to the tail of the sales of that game to like blutter afterwards because they just don't know how to like they were always wishy-washy. It's like we're happy that it sold 1 million copies. It's like, oh, it sold within our expectations. It failed our high-end expectations. So
right.
it's always like always the word salad that like screws up everything. But
You think they were using the same PR people as Xbox? Yeah.
yep, pretty much. They're like Xbox has become like the perfect PR. Like there, you
Uh,
cannot take any win that they take like with like you have to take any win that they say with a grain of salt because they always perfectly like
they're
turn it.
masters of saying everything without saying anything. Yes.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, again for the Q, I definitely have to read the full article for that. So kind of like where I land is that as long as this is not just wanting to like formally like make QA fully AI like in every facet, that's where I take an issue with. If it's like
Yeah,
specific
I don't
area,
think you realistically could,
uh
knowing what all goes into. I don't think there's even a
exactly.
possibility.
And I do because I do feel that that is gonna like have a negative a net negative into like quality if you just let that be automized. But there's certain things that should
Sure,
help you shorten because
sure.
I understand that what Square wants to do because they did say that in their recent financials. So it kind of makes sense why this is being looked into. They need to get games out quicker. they
Yes.
take too long to make games, and sometimes QA
And,
takes a while because of everything, like the way
sure.
that snail space of everything. If this is a thing that could help speed up some of that process, I'm all for it. As long as I make sure, as we know that the human touch is being given the tools to make their process easier through all of that.
And
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 if
and
it's
by the same token, so the biggest pushback to this is obviously something
hmm
that you had mentioned, which is, well,
hmm
you're taking away jobs,
uh-huh.
right? And there's a slight aspect of that that's true. You had said about how, yeah, in QA you still find your next person, whatever. And I'm not saying that's wrong because it is true.
hmm
But are you really finding anybody's design talent when they're jumping up and down in a corner for an
Exactly.
hour? No, no,
Exactly.
you're
No,
not. You're not
not
fun.
not those.
Yeah, yeah, you're not fun. And I'm not saying they don't have talent. I am
Hmm
saying that is not showing you their talent. You
hmm
are learning their talent when they're playing it and saying, "Hey, maybe this corridor needs to be trimmed down. Maybe you need a turn here, whatever."
Yeah, and I pull up the article so I could just put specific things. So as part of this plan, Square Enix says it has launched a partnership with the Matsuo Iwasawa Laboratory at the University of Tokyo, which is aimed at improving the efficiency of game development processes through AI technologies. The project, which is titled Joint Development of Game QA Automation Technology Using Generative AI, is being tackled by a joint research team of more than 10 members, including researchers from the University of Tokyo and engineers from the Square Enix group. What that kind of tells me is like that this is will aim to improve the efficiency of QA
Yeah,
operations and establish a
right.
competitive. So there you go,
Yeah.
on the operations
Br
side,
br
that's
br
exactly
bring it
we're
on.
in a,
Bring it on.
yes,
Yes.
for operations, there you go. Because like it means yes, let's make this a much easier process
This,
for QA
if anything,
testers.
saves jobs because it
Yes.
prevents studios from having to shut down because it's going to save them some money. And
Mm-hmm.
your I don't mean you obviously, but your argument of, well, they're making no, they need to make more to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Every little bit that they can save on things like this, that the human touch is of
Mm-hmm.
no relevance whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which it is not in this case. Let it happen because it's good. It saves other jobs this way.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't create the loss of the creatives.
Mm-hmm.
They're safer.
Yeah, like for
So,
example, I like even it's in this article. So like for example, it says last month it was reported that Electronic Arts staff are finding it a challenge to carry out management's demands that they use AI tools for just about everything, including QA. One former Respawn employee who worked in a senior QA role told Business Insider that he believes one of the reasons he was among 100 colleagues laid off this past spring is because AI was reviewing and summarizing feedback from play testers, a job he usually did. So it's like if we have an example of like, of course, EA of all people,
yeah,
of all companies.
that's going too far,
Exactly,
obviously.
exactly.
Yes.
That we have an example of that going too far because they're like letting AI just take like the feedback that it should be done by someone like with good discernment.
They're taking the YouTube approach
Mhm.
to it, which is let
Exactly.
AI take over. And
Take
it's
over
like,
and
yeah, that doesn't work.
no, because look what a shit show YouTube now is, where it's like for people to actually make money, there's like they have to resort for Patreons, asking for
Yeah,
memberships, and
yeah.
then like direct ways because like they cannot let the AI is not like sophisticated or good enough to be able to do the things that are needed. Even like I know that AI is the one that take like the claims if your YouTube gets stricken down, like your YouTube channel gets like a copyright strike or whatever it is, like
Mm.
that. So it's like
It's a nightmare to try to dispute it now. Yeah,
exactly.
because yeah,
So at least so far, based on this, they're talking about the automation. That's kind of like where it lands, where you kind of say like the few things that go beyond just like if it's like for functionality, if this can help them, I'm all for it.
yeah.
Like at least just from that context, I align there. If it was for like we want to replace a QA tester because we want the technology, we want AI itself to debug, test, and test everything on a game and make sure everything's working. I was like, that's just gonna lead to so much slop. I just
Yeah,
tell you because
yeah.
AI is like no matter how good AI has gotten, I feel like you can always tell that there's always a sloppiness to everything. Something that's just purely
Yeah,
AI
I mean,
driven.
it's still very young. I mean, it's still in its
Mhm.
infancy.
Exactly. So
Eventually, you wouldn't be able to, but now you definitely still can.
exactly. So it's like I know that's kind of like the goal of what they want to do with that technology. That's why a lot of people are pushing back against that because they are
Mm.
afraid of AI like eventually getting to a point where it's just gonna take over as some job. In some places, it already has, kind of like what's happened with the AI. That is like the guys that will read the notes from QA. It's like they don't need that because the AI is just basically taking all that info and I bet it's like, hey Grok, summarize me this entire paragraphs of what's like the Q tester is saying, so we can kind of read. I bet that's kind of like what's happening. So.
Mm.
Now, the final headline. This one I added it because I
Yeah, I
got
was like, I don't
disgusted.
remember typing this out, and then I was like, oh wait, this is
Exactly,
Portal. This is all Alex.
exactly. So yeah, I wanted to add it because it's also a pretty big deal because such a big deal that even Jeff Gordon from Windows Central wrote about it. So PlayStation has officially started rolling out the cloud streaming solution for the PlayStation Portal after it has been on beta for the last year and change. So kind of like for people to know, like the PlayStation Portal, which I have over here, uh, basically it's like at its core it was a remote play device. Earlier this year, they started testing cloud streaming because Sony has had cloud streaming for a while. They did cloud streaming on the Vita, if you remember. Like you could do like in PlayStation Now, you could stream a bunch of games to the Vita, kind of
Mm.
like that. And the Portal has been literally the best-selling device for the PS5, like for 2 years now. Like when you look at where the accessories most sold devices, the PS Portal is like high up there because like it's fairly
Remember how
affordable.
adamant everyone was it was a total waste of money?
Yeah,
But most people, when they get their hands on it, it's like, yeah, never mind, I was wrong about
exactly,
this.
exactly. When you understand kind of like what it
So,
is.
so to the people who said I was wrong, fair enough.
Fair enough, exactly.
There
For
are
people
still a
that
lot of people that double down though, and
exactly
you are wrong when you double
exactly.
down.
So now it's like Sony since then has been looking to see if they could kind of bolster it since there's clearly a demand for a device like that, especially with the price that it has. So they rolled out the beta. They rolled out a beta to test cloud streaming solution because they already had streaming if you're on the PS Premium, if you're on PS Plus. So it's like that entire catalog is like you could stream it from like any device that was given. You could stream it from a PC, from a phone, and things like that. And they were beta testing that on the PS Portal on the Portal. Now this week they finally like took it out of beta and it's in 1.0 release. So it's like, and they added it to the point where it's like you can stream every game that's there on the PS Plus Premium on top of finally streaming any
Games that you own.
stream enabled that you own.
I will
And
say, I wish they would add ones that you own, not the
uh-huh.
library, the
Yeah,
ones
it's
that
like
you own.
the ones that you own.
I wish they would add that to at least the essential tier.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
kind of sucks that that's locked behind premium.
Exactly. Yeah. For premium, it's like yeah, it's like I understand it's them trying to push it to the and to be fair, they said that they're kind of surprised how many people actually opt for premium compared to like extra. Is like because they kind of like math it out to be like we don't really need premium. Extra would be like the sweet spot for them to kind of sub in and would they get enough of a library and all that. And they realized that the $3 difference has actually made a difference into
Hmm.
pushing them there at least and monthly users. In the more yearly one, it's like harder to like because $160 a year and the premium offerings, at least for giving the classic catalog, has been kind of poor in recent times. They just keep adding like one game. In
Hmm.
recent, I mean, they added Tekken 3 and they're adding Soul Calibur 3 soon. And those are pretty big games for like fighting game communities too. And their emulator is actually pretty good. But the fact that they've added now that option where it's like, hey, if you're on PS Premium, if you own the game, like it's a there's a high likelihood that you get to stream it. And now you
Hmm.
don't even need a PS5 to be on at
Right.
all to be able to
And yeah,
play.
and that is once again,
Huge.
Microsoft gave them a complete freebie on this with
Yes,
by jacking up the game pass like they did.
exactly.
I actually think that no doubt about it when that rumor started circulating, when the rumor came out about
Uh-huh.
Game Pass's price hike. What was
Mm-hmm.
it about a week before it was announced or
Mm-hmm.
so?
Uh-huh.
I'll bet you Sony started going like, hey, let's get this out of beta. Let's get it out of beta as fast as we can.
Exactly, because it's like it's an amazing own goal because who's been the one
It is.
because think about it this way, like PS Plus like has tried like they've tried streaming for a while. That was before
Mhm.
xCloud because PS
Mhm.
Now came out in 2014. It was
Yeah, it was
garbage at start.
Genji or whatever the name was
Uh,
originally, right?
yeah,
So,
Gaikai.
so,
Gaikai.
Gaikai, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was like they used the Gaikai technology to test PS Now, and it's still a lot of it is being underlined by like the learnings they learn from PS Now. Their latest streaming solution, ironically, has come from Azure because they did back
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2019 they did a memorandum of understanding with Xbox
Right.
with
Right.
Microsoft to use Azure technology because they wanted to bolster that. I remember back then it was like, is this the end of the console? Where it's like it's actually Sony and Microsoft, not Xbox and PlayStation that are doing this. It's like
Right.
the behind the scenes stuff that's happening with this.
Yeah, yeah,
But
people forget they're parts of much larger companies.
exactly, and they don't care about the console we're there because they know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
people just own the literal infrastructure of the internet in
yeah.
some way. So you kind of do it. So they did that after Gaikai. They took that to try to improve game streaming. To be fair to PS streaming, compared to where it was to where it is now, it has improved significantly. There's still like
It was pretty
800
bad originally,
yeah.
so
There exactly no. It's like it was
it was really bad. It was
close to
really bad for a
abysmal.
while. Yeah.
It was close to abysmal. Then it got better. There's still like it's gotten good enough that people that don't care about latency can like theoretically play a lot of these games no problem. The fact that now they pulled that thing out of beta from the portal, and the fact that now you can like stream everything that you own. Just Gordon made an article be like, do you know that PlayStation has just beaten Xbox to their own game because they have
Mhm.
more games that are like stream ready than on
Hmm.
Xbox because a lot of those are kind of tied to the Xbox Play Anywhere thing that they've saddled so many games that there's still some that are not there. Do you know that Halo Master Chief Collection is not on Xbox
Yeah.
Play Anywhere? That's wild. That's like so
Yeah.
insane that there's gaps in there.
Gene was bitching about it on last week's Defining Duke.
Exactly. So it's like that's to me, it's insane. That is like, how are even some games from your catalog not being updated to that? Come on.
It is insane. Yeah,
Like
there is zero excuse for every single Xbox published game to
to not
not
be
be
as
played anywhere.
exactly.
There is no excuse for it at this point.
Yeah.
I understand you have to convince third parties to do it, and
Mhm.
that's a little tougher. You yourself, there is zero excuse for anything you make to
Yeah.
not be that.
And I understand that this, like what they're doing with this, kind of was aided by the fact that when they rolled out the PS Plus Premium initiative, they made a lot of developers kind of like opt in, like have to like make it. A lot of games come with trials. Like there's like if you're on
Yeah.
premium, there's like a trial where you can play like the first
Mhm.
hour of that game, and
Right.
after that hour, and that's funny enough because that was something you could do in PS3. They stopped doing that on PS4 and they
Mm,
brought it back for premium. And
mm,
that is like play the game for a few hours, and if you like the game, because you already downloaded the entire thing, if you like it,
right.
then just purchase and just keep playing. So it's like as
Right.
close to a demo as you could get. So because it got a lot of those games through that system, that's why so many games on that catalog are streamable. There's gonna be a few gaps here and there, but the fact that there's like Xbox has like 2,200, I don't remember, but it's like PlayStation has more of those enabled than Xbox, and Xbox is the one that's pushing
Mm,
for more of that. And now in the act of self-owned gold, the fact that now Game Pass is so much more expensive as of
mm,
yesterday. Yesterday is when the $30 price hike officially began. Is like it's so funny. This is for the week this happened.
mm.
The timing is not sus like
Yeah, I say it's
that
not coincidental.
exactly that
I'm
this
sure
happened this
Sony did
week.
this on purpose. Yes.
Yes. And Jess Gordon like over Windows Center kind of said is like Xbox is capitulating, trying to give everything to a PlayStation adversary that's so hell bent in destroying them. Because it's like, because think about it, it's like, yeah, Xbox is giving them older games. PlayStation is not doing that. They've only given
No.
them MLB because of the MLB license, and Helldivers 2 because of the
Right.
multi-platform thing, and Destiny 2 because it was already a multi-platform thing, and Bungie
Hey,
in their
well,
in their in their
and technically, Destiny
stipulations.
2 was there before they owned Bungie
Exactly,
anyway.
exactly, and Bungie stipulated that they wanted to keep doing that. That
Right.
was the only like basically the only
Right.
stipulation to put for them to be acquired by Sony. And Sony capitulated on that because of what they were trying to do at the time. So PlayStation is not like the third party that a lot of the
Yeah,
fanboys try to keep paying
well,
against. Just like,
and then the words get twisted to, well, you can play PlayStation games on a ROG Ally X, so you can play them on Xbox. It's like,
no, it's a
no,
PC
you can play them on a PC. You can't play them
exactly.
on
You
an
can play
Xbox.
it on an
And
Xbox.
I don't care what Microsoft says. That's not
Exactly.
an Xbox.
They're
It's
just
a
trying to,
PC.
yeah, they're just trying to twist the nuts. It's still funny that the ROG Xbox and their Xbox ROG Ally that has Xbox branding in it, you're playing a God of War and a Spider-Man, but it's again, you're playing the Steam versions and the Microsoft Store versions that were not
You're
Xbox.
playing Windows 11 is what you're playing.
Exactly,
Yes.
because your device is the Windows 11 device, so don't get
Yes.
it twisted. Just you're trying to like score, you're trying to score gotcha points there.
Yes.
So yeah, kind of like what I was saying. So this is notable because it has now added an option for you to stream directly a lot of your own library into the device without ever needing a PS5 system now. Considering the device's 199.99 price tag and that more than 2,500 games are stream enabled, the PS Portal has grown now beyond being a remote play device into a fully capable cloud-enabled device, more than capable of going toe-to-toe against Xbox's cloud-based initiative, which somehow has less games than what's stream available on the PlayStation side. Let the cloud-based stream wars begin, basically. So
Mhm.
I gotta tell you.
A real quick thought I had.
Mhm.
If I'm PlayStation, you know what I'm doing this year just to like for the holidays, I mean,
Uh,
just to put the boot on the throat. A PS
price
Portal
drop.
no, well that or what I was going to say a, a Portal bundle 249.99 but it includes like a year of PlayStation Premium.
Yeah, and that
And
alone.
at that point you just go you got yourself a portable device so long as you're on a Wi-Fi network.
Hmm.
Don't even have to have a PS5. Play all these
Yeah,
games.
and a lot of people have said that streaming has gotten good enough with this internet speeds that some people get that that's good enough for many. The device now, like, it's a fully capable cloud streaming device to a future that's kind of like the future everyone's aiming for. Basically, like it's gonna take a while before we get to complete zero
Yeah, it's
latency.
not coming as quickly as people think it is, but it
Mhm.
is what's clearly the intention. Yes.
Exactly. It just makes this device even way more valuable. I'll tell you that the Portal is an insane, like, it's more and more capable device that it initially seemed like, and it's really perfect for specific games. There's some games that I wouldn't play there if you need very specific precision based, but it like works much better. And the streaming solution, I tell you, I got to test Ninja Gaiden 4. It's stream. I was like,
I
this is wild. It works.
I played a pretty good bit of Persona 3
Reload on it.
reload on it. Yeah,
Turn
it's
based,
perfect.
yeah,
It's
that.
perfect for a turn-based RPG that doesn't have
And
reaction
especially
cameras.
if you
Yeah.
want to have like a sport in the background or something, if you want to like do
Mhm.
it there, there's just something so perfect about it. I played a lot of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in there.
Yeah, yeah,
It
it'd be
was
good for that
perfect.
too.
Yeah, because the pixel
Because
art,
timing doesn't matter at all. Yeah.
exactly, and the pixel art looks so perfect in a
Yeah.
1080p screen compared to
Yep.
like in a 60 like a 65 inch. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's like PS Portal still available for 199.99 like over there. It's a, somehow this device has survived the price hikes. But
Yes, it
there's
did.
yeah,
That's interesting.
it did. So and what's funny is
Yeah,
that
if you most people that you see that have one speak highly of it. Don't forget, leading into it, uh, Maddie was pretty against it when he got one. He
yeah,
said, "No, I was totally wrong about this. This is a
exactly.
really, really good device."
Because it was just a remote play device, and remote
Yeah.
play has like this weird connotation because remote play used to be really bad, or it was like after the focus on beta, it kind of just went away. So it's
Well,
like,
and when it was coming out, I saw people bitching about the price. I'm like, look, I was like, I'm the first to bitch about Sony right now, right?
uh,
I was like, I don't see how you could bitch about $200 for this. I was like,
mhm,
you've got a dual sense, so you got to take that into account. That's $70 right there. Actually, it's friggin' 80 now.
uh-huh.
I was like, now you got a screen and a Wi-Fi. I was like,
And
the
the
reality is
screen
this,
is
this
and remember, the
yes,
screen was like much bigger and higher
yes,
resolution than the
yes.
Switch screen. The
The
Switch
one
screen.
and only one area where I will say the criticisms are valid. It is fucking insane that it doesn't have Bluetooth.
Yes,
That is
because
fucking insane.
yeah, because of the
Outside of
pushing the
that,
PS Link thing.
right, and nobody wants the damn PS Link headsets.
Hmm.
That said, outside of that, there's really no valid complaint for it. There really is
Exactly.
not.
And then how like I feel like the Portal has been the most of anything. I think even Square like Push Square put it in the like let me see if I can find the article because I was like scrolling trying to find is PS Portal the biggest surprise hit of the PS5 generation? I would say yes
Yeah,
because
I would agree. It probably is too.
the fact that it's for 2 years has been the most sold accessory of the thing and it's not even considered like a handheld device is the reason why they're considering handheld again
Yeah,
because it's like there's
it
clearly an
it
appetite
it
for it.
it has to have widely exceeded their expectations. It
Hmm.
has to have.
Yeah, it's very clear it did. And it's like, and again, it's like, I'm still like, the fact that I still use mine, even like, I use more of this stupid thing than I do my Switch 2. Think about that. It's
I
like, I
can believe
use,
that
yeah,
actually.
because most of my library is in like, on PlayStation, it's like, there's a value to it. It works so
Mhm.
damn well. It's not like entirely perfect, but I tell you, it's like, you get 90% of the fact that someone could platinum Black Myth Wukong playing it on that thing. What does that tell you about like
Oh God, that gives me a headache even thinking about it
if they
though.
but someone did it. Someone there as you did it. So it's like it works.
God knows until 3 weeks ago, the frame rate on that was so god awful. I can only imagine how bad it was with even
Exactly.
the slight bit of lag
Uh
from the remote play.
a
Ugh,
lot of yeah, and what's funny is that I played a lot of the first Berserker Kazan in it. Like when I played that game, I was actually
that's
playing it.
surprising because that one timing is very very important.
That's kind of what's funny. It made me
Like pick or I mean
yeah.
per frame timing.
I love testing fighting games and things like that because it makes me test how good the latency is doing in my current internet speed. And that's when I started. That's when I started seeing is like, this is wild that it's actually working as well as it's doing. So
Mhm.
and with that, Rick, that concludes this week's episode. Let me read the releases for the week of November 9th to November 15th, because by next week we're gonna be already halfway through November. Can you believe that? So
That is crazy.
yeah, just to think about like Thanksgiving is literally around the corner. I'm gonna read these. Ambrosia Sky comes to PC on November 10th. Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, PS5, Series X, PS4, Xbox One, PC on November 10th. I don't know if this. No, the Switch 2 version is for next year, if I remember correctly.
Sorry for which one?
Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition.
Oh
They
yeah,
recently announced.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Into the Grid comes to early access to PC on November 10th. Surviving Mars relaunch to PS5, Series X, and S and PC on November 10th. Good Night Universe comes to everything on November 11th. Lumens Arise comes to PS5, PSVR 2, PC on November 11th. I'll have more to say about that next week. NASCAR 25 comes to PC on November 11th. Possessors comes to PlayStation 5 and PC on November 11th. Rue Valley comes to PS5, Series X, and Precision PC on November 11th. Sacred 2 Remaster comes to PS5, Series X, and PC on November 11th. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor comes to mobile phones on November 12th. Winter Burrow comes to Xbox console, Switch, and PC on November 12th. Anno 117 Pax Romana comes to PS5, Series X, and S, and PC on November 13th. Atelier Rise 2 Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy DX. I feel like there's like a million Atelier Rise games coming all the time.
You should have saved yourself time and just sent me a
Exactly.
Atelier
Yeah.
Rise of Trilogy DX.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like all like that entire trilogy comes on November 13th on
Yeah.
everything. Giga Sword comes to November 13th on PS5, Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Hitman Absolution, that old 2012 like chestnut, comes
The
to the Switch
the
on November
the
thirteenth.
kind of the weak point of that series, but
Yeah, I enjoy it still, but it's like
it's a good game. It's not a good Hitman game though.
exactly because it became
Yeah.
so linear. It just like tried to become
And
so
it's
cinematic.
very linear, and there's only a handful of even assassination missions in the entire game.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
it's a good linear stealth game, good mechanics, great visual style. It was like the precursor of their Glacier engine that blew up with
Mm,
the Hitman game. So it's like a good tech demo
right.
for that. But while you know about Hitman, it's like it's not in that game.
Yeah.
Inazuma 11, but it's coming to Switch, which is wild. Inazuma 11 Victory Road comes to everything on November 13. Rensport, PS5, Series X, and S, and PC on November 13. Siberia Remaster comes to Quest 3 on November 13. Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2 comes to Switch 2 on November 13th. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 comes to PS5, Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC on November 14th. That's the early access because the real release date is November 17th. I'm reviewing that. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero comes to Switch 2 and PC on November 14th. The Monster Hunter Stories games 1 and 2 comes to Xbox One, not a Series X and S, the Xbox One version because they use,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know why is that? Is because
It was a
empty
Switch One
frame.
game, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, he used empty framework. And empty
Uh,
framework, the engine, the previous engine for
yeah.
Capcom is just not compatible on Series X
Yeah.
and PS5. So that's why like Street Fighter, like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and all
Yeah.
that had to be PS4 versions because like they only work on backwards compatibility. There's no like PS5 SKU for that because they discontinued that, and that's why they're doing that for Xbox One. But it's basically an Xbox Series X and S game.
Mm.
And very surprisingly, where Winds Meet comes to PS5 and PC on November 14th. I didn't realize that game was that soon. That's kind of like the sort of Souls like from like either Malaysia or India. I don't remember. That was in the state of play.
China. It's China.
Is it China? Okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
comes to yeah, it's on it's from NetEase game.
I,
So yeah,
I also don't think it's not a Souls-like. It's a free-to-play game.
it's a free to play game that looked
Yeah.
like a Souls like because of the
Yeah.
camera.
I want to say it's more like a kind of a character action game, but not doesn't really play like Devil May Cry or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I wouldn't call that a Souls-like.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard. It's kind of its own beast, to be honest with you.
yeah, it's
But
just like if you see the camera, it's again like where we are that when you see a specific camera
right,
style,
right,
you could
right.
literally like think
Actually,
that's what it is.
honestly, saying an action RPG is probably a more like, which I guess a Souls-like is,
Hmm.
but a just a regular action RPG is probably a more accurate
And that's what I'm
description.
glad that we're getting more action RPGs that are trying to define that so that people can finally stop calling everything a Souls like. So,
Yeah.
but that's out on November 14th. I'm actually surprised. I thought that was 2026 for some reason. So,
Nope.
uh, and that is all she said. Rick, where can people find you?
Butch4969 on Twitter, youtube.com/spreading the nerd. We will be there tomorrow.
Hmm.
Clint and I, 7:30 p.m. Eastern
Yeah,
Standard Time. Come join us.
yeah. When this goes live, basically, like a few hours later, his episode goes live. And find me at the Slayer Giant on Twitch, BlueSky, and X. And find my written content over at seasongaming.com, where you can read a slew of reviews that I've written all the way since August. I did like 7 of those in 2 months, which is wild to think about. I've been like really busy with review season. Just to think, so I did Metal Gear, I did Hot Shots, I did the Toe and the Guardian and the Guardian scene. I did the Digimon game. I did Ninja Gaiden. I did
Dragon Quest.
and that I did Dragon Quest. It's been six, seven is if I'm counting Call of Duty, which is my next one. Whether we get a code or not, I'm the Call of Duty guy over at SG. So I gotta continue the tradition.
That's an unfortunate box to be placed in lately.
Yeah, it at least guarantees I'm always gonna be doing a review around that time. So it's Call of Duty reviews are actually fairly easy to talk about because they're all the same game, and you can
I
kind of
was gonna
get into
say,
it once.
I was say, yeah, you've played it already. You just got to figure out the differences.
Exactly, and it's easy to see the differences from entry to entry. So, and there's quite a bit to say. And this is the 20th anniversary of the annualization of Call of Duty. That's interesting. That's going to be interesting because this is going to be the 20th annualized entry since 2005. They have not missed a single year, even when they should have.
Yeah,
So,
so, and it shows sometimes.
yeah. And I am very curious to see how this package goes after all the damage control they've done with the way Battlefield 6 has made them
I just,
scream.
I mean, it's gonna sell because it's Call of Duty.
Hmm.
I don't see a whole lot of interest in this, like in my
Hmm.
timelines with that. I
Yeah.
see David Burnett from I think it's Gaming Trend. I see him talking about it. He
Hmm.
is the only one that seems to care.
Yes, I know Kate Onder from Comic Book. He noted that apparently the campaign may unlock much earlier than people give it credit, that even people think. So that actually would be interesting. Like if it actually unlocks on Monday, as apparently leaks suggests. They usually unlock the campaigns early for people to kind of get through them so
Yeah,
before the multiplayer.
yeah.
I think
Usually a couple of days before multiplayer goes live. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that's a good idea because when all
yeah,
the
I agree.
entire when the entire package dropped, it was like everyone would just go straight to the multiplayer. So at the very
Yeah,
least, it would come.
it's also a good way to make sure that if people were really looking forward to it, you might get them to actually play the campaign. So yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
it's not a bad idea at all. I agree.
Exactly. So curious how that co-op campaign is gonna go. So more thoughts about that in the coming weeks. But Rick, thank you for being here. With you, I do the chunky episodes. With Paul, I do the tight ones. That's kind of how it goes because we
Yeah,
have a lot
I wanted it to be kind of a short episode, but we did have some talk. Even though there was a
the
lot of
topics.
news, there
Yeah,
were
the topics.
we had ones that were able to go for a little while. So
Yeah, it was. I think the headlines kind of took our time there, more like even the games that we
yeah,
were playing there. But I don't mind it because I get to do this once every 2 weeks. Like, and it's kind of like a bi-weekly deep dive, and then it's just like a game dive that I do with Paul that were there. And I kind of need to. We need to see if we can get the three of us together like soon before the year ends.
I'll
Timeline
I'll
aligned.
I'll I'll be off the week after Thanksgiving, so we
Yeah,
can do it then.
yeah. I'll keep Paul loop in the loop for that. But
Just tell him he's not allowed to go out of town that week this time, or
exactly,
else if he does, he has to give us another day sometime during the week.
exactly. So because we're nearing the end of. I feel December 12th may be the end for us, like for this year, and then we're just going on
Oh,
break.
okay,
Yeah, so
I got you.
that's kind of what I'm thinking of. Or the 19th. We'll see it. We'll fill it out. But until then, thank you everyone for tuning in to this chunky episodes. I enjoyed talking. Like, watch me in my streams because I've been streaming quite a lot. I'm not gonna be streaming today. Like, I'm taking a day off. Tomorrow I'm returning though for more streams. And until then, play some more games. Like now that the onslaught is kind of done, because I just reading that list, I'm like, yeah, there's like now it's just like some
There is
holdovers.
not a single thing on there I'm getting, so
Exactly,
not one.
exactly. So your wall is
I
gonna
was
be
like,
like
oh, that was refreshing for once.
exactly your wall is gonna be chilling for a little bit until the Black
Yeah.
Friday sales really start in earnest. But until then, play more games, enjoy the backlog, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the cold weather of November, enjoy calm in New
Oh
York
boy.
soon, and
Enjoy the cold weather. Hell no. Press X.
to play. Hasta la vista, baby.